Hello and welcome to Glorious Smite League. We're back for another lower division game, and we're going to be seeing King Eyes versus Protectors of Yggdrasil. I'm not alone. I'm joined by Snakebite Sam.
Hello everyone, how are we doing? Quite an interesting matchup today, as we did see these guys face off not too long ago in that sort of mid-season tournament. King Kai's then lost it to Protectors of Yggdrasil with their sort of play style they brought to the game and how much they sort of pressure they brought out. King Kai's just not really able to find the mark, as we do see the first couple of bans coming through.
Yeah, no, Protectors of Yggdrasil have pulled off a huge upset in the mid-season semi-finals. But an important thing to note is that they don't have one or two of the players that they did when they back then was Alyssa and Takane. I don't think Taka actually played in that game. I'm not too sure. My memory doesn't serve very well, but I know Alyssa did, and that's quite a big loss because she did play a big role in the ADC and jungle role those games. As we do get into the pick and bans. Um, what's your recollection from that semi-final game? Do you have much recollection of it?
It was a bit of a weird one in the grand scheme of things. I felt that Kingside sort of built this sort of very early game sort of draft, and it didn't really play out into their favours as sort of the games went later, and Yggdrasil sort of pulled out ahead of them and able to just sort of better optimize that late game fight potential. But we do see already the bans coming through a lot of sort of mid jungle focus, especially in Yggdrasil in the jungle focus, trying to ban out Morton in the jungle. Uh, but we do see King Kai's picking up the Baba Yaga, which is a very prominent pick with how late these games are going.
Yeah, Baba Yaga, especially in this lower division, has been a really big top pick. You've seen like players like Nopex DO1, Blank Tsukiyomi, who's in this game, playing this pick and doing very well with it. And most teams have been banning the Baba Yaga against Protectors of Yggdrasil because um, they don't want Blank Tsukiyomi getting that pick. Um, what is this on Grow on the graphics? That's epic. Um, but yeah, that's both teams. Most teams have been banning out Blank Tsukiyomi's Baba Yaga, but King Kai's opting to pick it up rather than ban it out, as they do have the first pick. So it's very smart drafting by them.
I think the other important thing here is we usually see this Baron Samdi, which quite prominently has been quite powerful in both support and solo at the moment. Usually gets banned out, but instead has been let through and has gone straight to Protectors of Yggdrasil. And he just brings so much presence to the game at the moment with the sort of the heal, the group heal, the the root, the damage on the one, and also just the extra utility from his ults, being able to really displace people and bring them into a position they don't want to be in.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a very good pick. Very
As we do
very,
see Practices of use are opting towards the two ADCs at the moment, going for the AMC and the Chernobog. I reckon that's probably going to be an AMC mid. He's got a bit more ability damage on his side. Chernobog in that sort of long lane on the left-hand side, opting for more gank potential with his global ultimate. But on King's side, we do see a Darji getting picked up, which has recently been unbanned from the tournament after a lot of presence, sort of just brings a lot of teamfight orientated ganks and just the ultimate being very powerful in trying to limit some of these carries from escaping her grasp with her chase down and dot damage.
yeah, no, Daji's a huge pick here. Very strong pick for sure. Brings a lot to the table. Uh, and is able to really burn beats away and do that sort of stuff. And I noticed they banned out the Kepri here, which is definitely a target ban possibly towards Don's game, and he's pretty renowned for his Kepri. Saying that though, there's a Athena hovered for Protectors of Yggdrasil, and they are going to lock in that Athena pick. What do you think of the Athena pick?
I just want to say that both the bans from on the side of King Kaiser were very well placed. The Khepri just being very powerful at the moment. A lot of teams opting to picking it up. A lot of teams valuing that res and the CC it brings. And the Fafnir with the Coerce just being very potent on Chernobog and AMC is a very heads-up draft. I like the Athena. It gives a little bit more pressure just globally across the map. You've got the Chernobog that can come into any team fights. You've now got the Athena that can join any team fights as well. President Yggdrasil looking for a lot more global pressure and presence to be a bit more threatening in these sort of engagements. You know, you could be trying to engage on one person, but then suddenly two others turn up at their aid very quickly, trying to quickly turn the fight on its head and look towards more pressure.
Yeah, no, I really like this King Kai's team comp here. There's so much going on it, and I actually really appreciate it because you got the Odin, who's very good into the comp that we're seeing right now, um, and then you have the well, you have the Baba Yaga, who's just such a pain to dive for if you're a solo lane or a jungle. It's such a pain to dive. You dive on her, she ult, you get knocked up, and she's tanky and she hits very hard, and it's a tough time, honestly, for anyone trying to dive that. And then you just have Heimdall, who's also a pain because he's going to ult you if you initiate on him, and well, if your beats aren't down from Darji ults, then probably gonna go down from being sent to Niflheim, right? There's a lot of team fight possibilities coming out from King Kite here, and I really like it. Whereas the side of Protectors of Yggdrasil, not quite so much there going on when it comes to like, you know, zoning, making distance, you know, and heavy amounts of CC. You got the Baron Simity ultimates, the Life of the Party, but it's beyond that, not too much. You got the Athena taunt, not much from beyond that.
I think the important thing here is they've drafted this Odin last, which is a very powerful pick into the four that we saw from Protective Yggdrasil. Both AMC, Baron, Chernobog, and Athena can't really escape that ring if it's placed well without using some form of ultimate on the side of Cherno and Athena. But the Heimdall as well is quite a good pick in the ADC, and I rate that. But picking the Morrigan into both Heim and Odin is a very odd pick to me. You know, Heimdall's got that one he can use. It allows him to see invisible targets. Morrigan goes invisible. He's able to see it. He can use his two, the Galahorn, just to try and get that tick. As soon as he sees that Morrigan go invisible, use that, just go around the area. As soon as she takes a bit of damage, she appears almost instantly. So it's a very odd pickup, the Morrigan, into this draft, and I can see it working, but it's going to be a bit difficult with a lot of these picks being picked up. And Protected Yggdrasil also have a bit of a weird style of draft. You know, you've got two ADCs and the Morrigan. You're going to have something going into this jungle here. And honestly, I could see it being any number of either the Morrigan, the Baron, Athena. Athena's been picked up. Probably not after the mid-season changes. But Chernobog could even go there as well with that sort of global presence, able to try and gank. It's a very odd style of draft compared to the standard sort of pickup, and I'll be interested to see how they sort of use it going forwards.
Yeah, no, I believe this is a Morgan. I mean, I know this is a Morgan jungle now because we're in game. But yeah, it's a very interesting pickup. I haven't seen Morgan jungle almost at all, really. This I won't say this season, but like, you know, it's a very you know, sort of the pick you pick like when you think I want to one shot somebody, but you don't really see too much of that. With the things, you know, buffed like the health and whatnot, and it's an interesting pickup. I mean, you know, it's the highest skill cap, skill ceiling guard in the game. I'm excited to see Ghost Rider 62 on it because, you know, he hasn't been performing really very well, and it's interesting to see him pick up such an, you know, high skill level sort of god. You know, that not even in its traditional role. It'd be interesting to see what he does with the Morgan here.
Exactly that, and I think the important thing with Trace of User is they've drafted towards a lot of late game with a lot of sort of pressure in these two ADCs. and the Morrigan just scaling very well with the burst into late game. So it will be interesting to see how that goes on. You've got the Baron for that sort of mid game, and the Athena just all round just being very useful with that taunt. But on the other side, you've got a bit of a mix. You know, Odin drops off a little late, which is more early base, which is fine. You've got the Darji, which is just generally a very good pickup to that ult. The Geb, all-rounder. It's a very sort of mid-game draft outside of potentially the Baba Yaga, which is going to scale very well with the stacking. As we are going to see the Geb do a little bit of pressure here. Both supports just being a little bit of a nuisance to either ADC. But the Geb has bitten off a little more than he can chew.
Yeah, no, Narc Mushroom is very low right now. He needs to be a bit careful, don't get overzealous here, because he's taking a lot of damage being this aggressive, taking aggro from the minion wave and taking a bit of damage from Karate Kid as well. Does need to be careful. Morton's rotating into the jungle, looking for the oracles as well as Frost Rush, but Blank Tsukiyomi goes for an equal to it.
Exactly that, they're coming into the mid lane now, just trying to steal a little bit of farm. Morton is low, but does manage to sort of back out a little bit. Does only have 2 abilities, as we are going to see a little bit of an uncontested fight, and it will be taken by Plush Rush, as we do see the Darji going straight onto the Morrigan jungle, and does manage to get the kill, looking towards the AMC. AMC trying to dish out as much damage, does get the counter kill, and we are now going to see the Baba Yaga trying to chase down this little kill here, as the AMC's got that little bit of movement speed with the hives, being able to get out away from Plush Rush. Overall a 1v1, but first blood going to King Kai's.
Yeah, King Kai's get down first blood, and that'll do a lot for their confidence. You know, after suffering that defeat in the semis, you there's definitely some sort of mental that you have when you get a team that you didn't expect to beat you, and you know, to get that first blood is pretty huge for them, and they're gonna want to try to steamroll off this little bit of lead that they've got, the 500 golds, see how well they can perform as we go on to the game. And good job by Blank Tsukiyomi to get that return kill there.
I think the important thing here is you may lose your life killing the Morrigan, but at the end of the day, that just means the Morrigan there is taking a little bit longer to get onto that sort of late game powerhouse that we know her as. So ultimately, it is just a straight up advantage, I would say, for King Kai's there. Getting the first blood gold on the Darji, yeah, you die for it, but just shutting down that Morrigan a little bit more in any way you can is always going to be a bonus going forward.
Yeah, no, if you can shut down a Morgan before, you know, she gets... You don't want her getting a lead, basically. If she gets a lead, she can absolutely run the game. And to see Alpha getting really low here, Fredus trying to get something.
Uses his ult, so won't be able to chase down. So Alpha just managed to get away, using that shield very effectively. Just to give him that little bit more life, as we do see him here get aggressive onto both Geb and the Heimdall. Nothing really comes of it. All bursting abilities have been used. They do have wave pressure, so the Geb will be forced to back out, as Morrigan will make a sort of gank attempt, but ultimately decides to decide against it and back out of the lane.
Yeah, no, he tried to get something out of that, but Anarch Mushroom and Laylor were good to be wary of the attack. And I say Laylor, by the way, because Laylor is playing on a different account, Bush Saru, for some reason. Fredus
going aggressive, going in towards the Baron Samdi, and just a 1-2 combo. Baron can't escape, drags him in. Bourbon does big damage early on and just manages to take that kill straight away. And we're already seeing a little advantage from the solo lane and this sort of jungle, as the Darji just seems a little bit more impactful than the current Morrigan.
Yeah, we're going to start seeing the effects of this Odin pick, and we saw it right there. Darshi and Odin pick are very strong together, and well, Baron Samedi hasn't really got a way out of that Odin cage, so he's just going to sit there and suffer whenever that Odin cage goes down around him. And good job by Morton to be on top of Fredus here and visualize this gank and get it done.
What do you think of this sort of Bumber's Dagger pickup here on the side of the Baron Samdi in the solo lane?
It's a late game payoff, you know. It does help quite considerably when it comes to you know, clearing buffs. You know, it's kind of what you want to do in the solo lane. It's just farm up really, and it helps a little bit that way. But what you're really doing it is that Bumper's Hammer in the late game. Once that Baron Samedi gets the Bumper's Hammer, completed in the late game, that's when he starts to really shine because he's just throwing out abilities left, right, and center, and it just becomes a really effective item compared to something like, well, Vampiric Shrouds you can't really build anymore. It's not a very good item, right? You got Sands of Time you might build, but you just the Bumper's Hammer is just better on a god like Bound 70 right now.
You do see in that duel in there the Geb and the Heimdall just taking a little bit more farm, trying to leech their lead where they can, and although they does have the advantage in the ADC, the Geb is a little bit behind the Athena, but taking that purple buff, just limiting what this Chernobog can really do, and just trying to take these small wins, trying to take as much farm as they can, steal the neutral farm and carry it forward.
Yeah, no, we're gonna see a farming clinic by King Kaiser's usual. Like they're a good team where they try to farm it up. You know, they do get pressure early. If they do spot that they can run the game early, they absolutely do. But they're also very efficient farmers. Looks like they're going in here.
Geb ult is used, hits on 3. Darji ult comes through, pulls a lot of beads. We do see the Morrigan now coming in, trying to use the counter ult. Baba Yaga is in the house though, CC immune, is able to back out, throwing out damage where they can. And well, I'm just going to see a big disengage, but it's 3 ults for 3 ults. No one really gains anything. Just sort of more of a damage check if anything, because we do see everyone back out, just a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah, that Morgan ult was questionable, I won't lie. And Alfie gets the solo kill on Fredus. Meanwhile, good solo kill by there. Fredus just stepping a bit too far up when he was that low. Just wasn't the right thing to do. But yeah, I didn't really like that Morgan ult. Just didn't think it was necessary at all, really. Barbie Yug was in her ult.
Pressure on the left though, as the Geb is getting engaged on. With the Athena ult down and the Chernobog, but we'll have that rollout just to sort of escape the tower line.
Yeah, looks like now Mushroom is looking to maybe think the wave or something to wait for Lador to get back in lane, but just taking out too much poke and needs to roll away.
In terms of that solo lane though, the Baron Sambi not able to finish his Warlock staff, only has the sort of tier 2 version of it, as we are going to see a lot of pressure in this mid lane now as Morten just jumps straight on the AMC. AMC not really able to escape too closely when he's being body blocked like that. Has no real jump and will just get pressured out. But back to this solo lane, you've got this Odin who has already finished Glad Shield. Tier 3 item to a tier 2 and it's just absolutely leveraging it for all he's worth. 2-level lead now. Just absolutely giving him the pressure he wants to keep this game in his favour, keep the lane in his favour too.
Yeah, no, Alfie still proving why he's one of the best solo laners in this division. Just putting on a clinic so far, and well, that won't protect you from life of the party, unfortunately. It's a gank coming on to Alfie01.
That Morgan goes in, but decides against it. Bit of a weird timed ult as we do see Alfie going in, trying to supply a little bit of damage. Morten is here in the sidelines. It's a bit odd from both of the solo laners there. Riders using that ult, but a little bit too early for any of the teams really to follow up. Alfie dropping the ult, I assume for just wave pressure or just sort of trying to use it to sort of dissuade anyone from coming in on him. And ultimately, neither one really affects either of them. Both junglers a little bit too late to the rotation to make anything happen and just only back out with nothing real loss. We do see Alfie dive the tower a little bit, gone in between that tier 1 and tier 2, looking for pressure onto Threaders. Tried to steal that blue buff, ultimately unsuccessful. Will just have to back out.
I don't think either of Fredus or Alfie realised that Odin Cage won't protect you from life of the party. I think either of them realised that, and you see Fredus like kind of stop the ult a little bit and then continue on when he realised he went through the cage. I don't know, it's very confusing there. I think it's just a bit of confusion by both players.
I think guys are doing a very good job here at controlling these sort of back camps and these alpha harpies, especially stealing them away from this Morrigan jungle, already a level behind. Does have the Doom orb online though, so maybe a little bit of power and movement speed to keep it going. is very well controlled from King Kai's, just trying to take all the farm they can, limit what they give out, and just try and pressure Protector Yggdrasil's a little bit more and limit really what they can get out of this game.
Yeah, no, we see Layla with a bit of a lead over Karate Kid right now. You know, we got the solo lane popping off at Alfie. Considerable amount of lead from every role really. Looks like, you know, King Kai's, if they do get this sort of lead, they will run away with it. So Protectors just still need to make Psych happen here and so the fight break it down in mid.
Morton taken low, does have to back out. Athena ult is used, looking at the get. Taunt is active, but the Baba Yaga ult coming through, being able just to be enough to dissuade any fights. And again, with many of these other fights, we will just back out and retreat back to base. Loads of ults used with no real gain.
Yeah, once again, nothing really much coming out of that fight besides, well, nothing really actually.
What's your opinion on the two ADC builds here? What were the differences?
I don't. Devs did get a bit of a buff last patch because the nerf that it got recently was very heavy. But I don't really like any of their builds, to be honest with you. Kind of a questionable build pass, but Yggdrasil's probably the favourable one out of these two, especially if Aloy is looking to aggress as he seems to have been so far. Yggdrasil offering good amount of power just for that, and the attack speed slow.
You see just a little bit of farming going on, going for these buffs. We're seeing a lot of presence on this left-hand side, and it could be maybe a try and force a fight around these oracles, or even try and bait the Gold Fury. But we are going to see we still have a few abilities over the wall, and it will be a 1-for-1 there, as so no one really gets vision on this Gold Fury.
We see a lot of pings going towards that way, but nothing gonna happen for now, and we'll just see some minions in the air. But we just not much gonna be happening right now. We see Ghost Rider rotating towards the solo lane, but just having a peek, I guess.
We are seeing a lot of aggression here onto this Alfie though. Uses jump, can't escape it. Like the fight comes through. Darji ult from the Morrigan as well. Really trying to lock him down and try and shut him down. Does have the bees, does manage to escape, and he's looking towards the AMC, who has been caught out by the actual Darji. And Geb comes in with a beautiful 3-man ult and a knock-up, giving them enough peel to bring his team out of it. Ultimately, a very failed gank attempt from Protector Yggdrasil, investing too much into a tanky Odin and losing their mid laner in the process.
Yeah, questionable position by Blank Suki, I won't lie, but I did like Ghost Rider's use of the Daiji ultimate there. It was a good idea, it just wasn't executed to the best of its ability or capability. But yeah, good rotation by Morton and the rest of King Kai's to help out Alfie 01 here, and well, come out of that well, gank onto them ahead. They definitely won the exchange there, and Protectors still just need to be a little more clinical and precise on their ganks and use of their kits when it comes to these team fights.
So we do see in this solo lane, Throtus has picked up that sort of cursed dank and has upgraded it to sort of tier 3. What's your opinions on this relic and how impactful it could be later on? Oh, it's teleport.
It's teleport. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, heroic teleport. I don't know about upgrading it all the way to tier 3 this early on, to be honest. I see upgrading it to tier 2. Absolutely, you need that cooldown. The cooldown without it is well too high to be much of value. But all the way, I'm not too sure. Knock Mushroom very low here.
Morton is here using that ult, trying to get a little bit extra. Plus, is about throwing and does use the house to get a knock-up onto Blank Sukiyomi, and is trying to pressure him out heavily with these pools of potions, but will escape. Morton does go in with that dash and will manage to do damage. The Athena is here. Life of the party has been used on Plush Rush, trying to drag him back in. Does get the kill onto Morton with the Morrigan. Comes back in. Odin ult down. But Plush Rush is taken low and will get taken out. Odin will have to just run away here with all of his team taking very quick losses, and it will go straight towards this Pyromancer, but Odin is still here and may look for a steal attempt.
Yeah, Alfie is going to look for this steal, but Ghostwriter is aware of his presence, and I really like Chapter 6's choice to go for this, and Alfie jumps in, and they do turn onto Alfie, and Alfie's going to take a considerable amount of damage. Maybe they will drop this Pyro now, and good job by Alfie. He might even get a kill with the Ghostwriter here. He does. Ferris is also in trouble. Ferris is in big trouble. Luck Mushroom is onto him as well. Gonna get the heal and is gonna be okay.
Very well played there from Alfie, managing to turn that fight around on its head, using that sort of tankiness he has from the shields, just trying to give him a little bit more survivability, temporary health as you wish, and just using the damage he has in his kit, recognizing they don't really have any solid damage there from the side of Protection Yggdrasil. Both their mid and their ADC are quite far away, so no consistent damage. So you do see Alfie just stealing this blue buff, just recognizing Predator there, looking for a bit more damage, just sort of forcing him out. As we're in mid though, we are seeing a lot of pressure again on this AMC. He will get pulled in by the Darshing pillar, unable to escape that. The Chernobog does come in, but ultimately not much you can do against the 3v1. We'll have to back out, and there's been a lot of pressure onto this AMC with not a huge amount of gain.
Yeah, if you want to pick AMC in the mid lane, you are gonna have to be ready to use those beats and try to position almost perfectly, because if you don't, especially against a jungle like Morton, you're gonna get punished for it, because they're gonna be out on top of you if you position incorrectly as a amusing cab.
Yeah, and we do see them there picking up the Pyromancer, getting that little bit more gold, starting to extend their lead further as they can. Recognizing they have a bit more damage, taking out the mid lane, they can't really dispute it, and being able to pressure that, they take it down to get the gold into their favour.
Yeah, King Kai's leading a almost 5,000 goal lead, a 4,000 experience difference, and that's going to be huge because they're going to run with it, and looks like a little breakout in the mid lane here. Flush rush.
See Black Jimmy coming in, looking towards the Geb, does get the kill onto Geb, but we'll have to back out as everyone has retreated. The Darshi is at green, so could make a rotation round, but it's ultimately probably just going to go the safe way and just try and back up this Baba Yaga where they can.
Yeah, no, I'm really liking. I have to know. I'm really liking the quantity of Morgan ults by Ghost Rider. I don't really like this rotation here. He's just kind of wandering around, losing out on farm efficiency. But yeah, I'm really liking the how much he's using these Morgan ults. We did see the him turning to Chernobog and use the ultimate to try to save Blank early on the gank onto him. It's just not in time. It's a lot of action in this solo lane, which isn't something I'm used to seeing from, well, like Fredus and, well, solo lane in general as well, really. Alfie really trying to push Fredus into an uncomfortable area, and he's doing a good job so far. Do you see him pivot around this goal view?
A lot of pressure on Goldview, recognizing they are on the right hand side of the map. There's a ward on fire, so not notice. You do see Chernobog's face jacket and has recognized they are here, but using most of his abilities. Morton is keeping a lot of the people away with his power out, just trying to limit people coming in. Chernobog does come in, tries to look for Morton. He goes through, he does fall ultimately, and I seem to be getting away from it all relatively unscathed. A bit of a late rotation, not really recognizing the pressure they could bring to that Gold Fury, and not really having the response time to back it up as well.
Yeah, no, bit of a mistake by Protectors of Yggdrasil, but really good job by King Kais for recognizing it, having the vision to do it, and Life of Party is coming out. Alfie's in the middle of it, so is Morton.
Does fall low though, and as we do see the Baba Yaga coming in, doing massive damage with that house, just being able to do much, but has put herself now in a bad position. Geb does coming back in, Taunt comes through, Shell is used, will use the ult stun 3. We are looking at Blank Tsukuyomi again, bad positioning, does fall. Meanwhile in the backline, we do see the Heimdall come in and manages to take out the Morrigan jungle. Looking towards the Athena now is very quickly a fight that was on the side of Protection Yggdrasil has turned heavily in the favour of King Size.
Yeah, no, very good job by King Kais to recognize their strengths and use them in this team fight. Uh, well, Potentially Yggdrasil, yeah, again, just falling a bit short in these fights, having the advantage, and then, well, King Kais respond very well, and Potentially Yggdrasil make those mistakes that let King Kais really take over the fight. And, well, just got to be a bit more clinical, as I said earlier, in these team fights.
So prior to that team fight, I was going to say it is quite impressive how I think a lot of these level leads that you've seen sort of grow on the side of King Kai's has been lost. The solo lane, you're looking at Spreaders now, who was originally getting ganked quite heavily, is gone even and even ahead now. Uh, the mid lane, most of their XP lane is in that sort of mid jungle and ADC, which is not really where you want the XP difference to be. You know, they are your carries, but the support trying to make it work here. This Athena is working very well into the draft and trying to do as much as they can into getting these team kills.
Yeah, and oh,
We are seeing Morton going up in the parallel, looking for the AMC, a little bit speedy, he does get pulled in. We do see a lot of burst damage here from Flush Rush, and he does go into the house trying to finish the job. Geb is here as well. Morton gets out, takes one too many tower shots, but they do manage to get the counter kill onto this AMC, who is now 2-6 and 3. Does try to back out. Geb is stuck and probably will fall here with the tower shots, will fall down. Flush Rush trying to escape, same with the Odin. They do manage to turn their tails and run. Kingside is getting a little bit too greedy there in that mid lane, trying to push an already asserted lead in that mid lane, and ultimately have paid too much for it, as we do see Patricia so looking towards the Pyromancer, probably just trying to get a little bit more farm, but Kingsides do notice it and will be noticing it here, using that Heimdall one there to try and get it. Odin coming in, locking them all in. Shell is used, but it is going to be too much for the Morrigan jungle, and it's very quickly burst down. We are going to see a 3v3 here in this jungle. The big heal comes out there from the Baron Samedi. Athena maybe caught low, but is trying to get the team out. Will retreat to the tower. There is a power buff on it from Emperor's Armor. Odin taking a lot of tower shots. Will we now be looked at by the rest of the team? Maybe bitten off a little bit more than he can chew. Yggdrasil just sort of holding the line a little bit after a quite good team fight into a very good retreat. Losing a little bit too many members and that pressure in the jungle.
yeah, King Kai's is their weakness right now is knowing when a fight is over and when to back out. They keep having the strengths in these fights. They keep having the advantage, and then they just make a mistake, and then they just overextend, and it really is costing them dearly right now. And they need to, well, focus on that and try to communicate when are we getting out, are we going in, and when are we getting out, because if they don't communicate this, there's going to be trouble for them. They keep, well, basically inching away these fights.
Exactly that. Kingside want to do Pyromancer here, but we have got a bit of a response, but we are going to see the AMC get attacked on by this Morrigan, goes straight into the Paolo, avoiding the Stinger damage, and will manage to pull the beads off that AMC, which he's struggled very much with in terms of this sort of CC chain that seems to be dealt to him.
Yeah, good by Morton, just getting the engagement and pulling some beads while he can. Does pull off Blank Tsukiyomi's beads, which, to be honest, it does seem like King Kai's are really hard targeting the Blank Tsukiyomi, and why not? He's one of the star players to protect his Yggdrasil. He's playing a very unsafe god in Amu's and Cab. Why not target that? And Morton's in the backline once again.
That's a very important play there from Protective Yggdrasil, managed to steal away that Pyromancer. We are going to see an engagement now in this jungle. Morton is in the backline though, and is behind the team, and they don't know he's there. He will be looking towards this Ghost Rider. Odin ult does come down, locking 3. We do see Morton go into the backline, does get the kill onto Ghost Rider, and is now looking towards many more of the AD, sort of carries in the backline. Do see the heal coming through from the Baron as they're trying to pressure out this Darji from doing too much damage, but again Darji's just jumped straight on and is doing a lot of burst and will manage to take out the AMC as well. Just a little bit too much pressure and a lot of peel on the side of the Protection, so now a load of her as the rest of the team come rushing through the jungle entrance, looking towards the last 2 remaining members. The Athena just trying to get out, but will have a lot of damage dealt to her. The rest of the team is just going to try and do what they can to take the final kill, and it will be a deer side for the side of King Kai's.
Yeah, King Kai's played that fight really well. Protectors Yggdrasil didn't really know if they wanted to be in that fight or not, and well, stuck around too long to find out when Morton was just picking his claws at the back line, just picking off one by one, taking out two, and then all of a sudden Protectors Yggdrasil had one or two men down, and King Kai's jumped right on it. And now they're jumping on this fire giant, and this could be huge. Morton's very low, gonna have to back out, so as well as Alfie, pretty low, but does have the shields, the shields, to compensate, and doesn't want to get knocked up there. That would be deadly. But we'll take this fire giant. 25 minutes into the game, King Kai's get the first fire giant.
Juggling there on the side of King Kai's, recognizing that their tanks are low, so they've got to try and split this out evenly to the people, trying not to let the carries get too low so the constant damage to it is lost, and just recognizing how much damage they could take and how much they could get away with, being able to juggle it effectively and just sort of back out without losing a single member to the fire giant.
Yeah, very good job by King Kai's. Good little bit of macro play. Doing very well so far. And, well, Protector Yggdrasil needs to defend this fire giant attack. I expect King Kai's to be very aggressive onto these T1 towers up in mid and left, mid and duoside, and well, they're gonna look for those tier 2s as well, and maybe even a Phoenix. Do they have enough time for Phoenix? Maybe not. But we will see. They are looking at the Oni feud, which will really help with this push.
We've got both trebuchets pushing up as well, so it's going to be very difficult for Protector Yggdrasil to be in these sort of two places at the same time. Trebuchet having a lot of sort of health and damage on these towers. I expect them just to try and focus on just the towers with this push, try and get the gold needed for the next team fight, go in towards that second fire giant, the enhanced fire giant, and get rid of those backdoor protections for the Phoenix. We are going to see a very big grouping here on the left hand side. It's falling very low with that Emperor's Armor doing a lot of work to it, unable to really deal out the damage the tower wants to stop them from pushing it. And they are going to rotate a little bit to this mid lane now, just trying to steal as much gold off the map as they can.
Yeah, no, I mean they essentially own 90% or 85% of the map right now, so why not? You know, take your time, take these towers and take the farm that's coming up, like that speed buff. Take as much farm as you can, strip it away. They are going to burn down this tier 2 tower pretty fast, and not much Protectors of Yggdrasil will want to do about that. And we do see the Trebuchet going down into the Solus lane side of the map right now with a heavy wave, with an Oni wave right behind it. Let's see what will happen beyond this. They might look for this Phoenix. They might not. They might just try to pivot, take the farm that's in the jungle. It does look like they're posturing for it. It looks like they'll go for the siege.
Exactly 1 minute 30 on this sort of fire giant. I am surprised you didn't see more of a sort of soft defense in those tier 2 towers. I reckon it's not a huge waste of time for them to sort of retreat. Maybe they just fear the burst damage from Morton. We often see a lot of pressure into onto this trebuchet. Let's go in, trying to just start to find a pick and limit their push, and they will manage to take out that trebuchet. So they're going to have to now rely on minions to lower these backdoor protections. Ultimately just looking for one person to get out of position, or maybe just waiting for a minion wave to really allow their sort of engage to get off and try and snowball from there.
Yeah, no, both teams are just looking for one another to engage. Morton does blink in, he's in the back line, he's onto Blank Tsukiyomi, he's going to use Dashi ultimate.
One is low though, and will have to try and back out. We are going to see Predators come through with a very big Baron Sammy. Geb down, looking at Heimdall. Heimdall is down as well. Good Odin cage though to try and limit the push. But the shell has come out with the sort of the walls being useless when it's used. We are going to see a very quick chase around, as we are also seeing that the Morton got very low on the Daji, and the Chernobog is trying to chase it, but now in a better spot to look at the Odin, who will use the stun effectively to get out. And Morton is hanging around trying to make sure the Odin can get out, so at least they're not completely lost in this fight.
Yeah, well, Protector Yggdrasil are going to take the Pyromancer, but one good thing King Kai's did there, just a little bit too late. Alfie Seal one, putting that Circles of Rain or whatever it's called, Odin ult. around all 5 players of Protectors Yggdrasil, allowing for Plush Rush to just slap in some ultimates into the cage and doing a lot of damage. And when we do see that in the play damage chart in the bottom left, 25,000 damage handed by Plush Rush so far. Blank Tsukiyomi not too far away from him as well on the Amusing Cab. Very impressive damage chart so far. And it's only going to get higher the longer this game goes on. It looks like we're going to start posturing around for the next Fire Giant. It's going to be an enhanced Fire Giant, so both teams will want to be around for this, and they do recognise that Ghost Rider is still on left, so they might try to put this really quickly. They're definitely going to play for wards, get the ward domination in the jungle, and they are going to win this ward game so far. And Protectors Yggdrasil are not even here yet, which is very bad news for them because, well, King Kai's are on this Fire Giant so far, and no Protectors Yggdrasil to be seen.
That we do see Blank Tsukiyomi coming in, recognise it is being done, but ultimately they think they'd rather take the fight from under Phoenix, ultimately backing off from it, which I'm not sure really is the play, but maybe they just couldn't really get to a point where they think they could steal it or try and even defend it from the King Kai's. And
Yeah.
the map presence from King Kai's seems to be very well done here. They're recognizing where people are. You saw, you saw the Morrigan Ghost Rider there on the left getting pinged out very early on, recognizing that he's not really going to have enough time to get to the Fire Giant for that defense. Especially Yggdrasil not really recognizing when that Fire Giant was coming up and when they really need to be there to defend. Only now just hovering around these Phoenixes, just trying to do a defense. And it goes back to the previous Phoenix defense we saw from Yggdrasil. Although it was very well done, I did like what King Kai's did. They sort of waited there, bided their time, waited to find their advantage, and they noticed that the Ghost Rider on that Morrigan was clearing waves on left. And just trying to push that 4v5 ultimately didn't really work out. Morton went a little bit too deep on that Darji, trying to make a play, didn't really work out, as we do see them now all posturing around the Phoenix.
Yeah, this is all stemming from not fighting at EFG. I really believe Protectors Yggdrasil made a really crucial mistake in not trying to fight for that EFG. There's kind of a make or break right now, and we're about to see it as this about to blink onto this fight.
Towards Don's game, and Don's game is perhaps delivering a 2C Ghost Rider turning to that Geb, trying a little bit more CC for the team. Beams is down already, burst from the Heimdall too much. Plush Rush gone into the ultimate and has burst out too already. Looking towards the Baron Samedi, who is trying to save his life, but is surrounded by 3. The Athena goes into the air, does land down, but will die before they can get the damage off. It is Ghost Rider versus the world here, as very quickly we're going to see this Titan start taking damage and probably trying to fall as Ghost Rider is trying to make something happen. He does manage to do a lot of damage on the Morton, but does just get CC'd down by the Heimdall with that knockup, and it will be game 1 to the King Kai's after a very well-orientated map performance. Team fights went very well, and the Darji just sort of ripping through that mid lane really spun this into their sort of favour.
Yeah, well, King Kai's really did well in that first game, and Protectors of Yggdrasil just made some mistakes here. I really believe that just not contesting for the EFG really did bad for them there. Like, they really needed to contest for it, and they did not. And I think that costed them the game right there. I don't think, if there's an EFG up, they didn't even have any Phoenixes down, If they had a Phoenix or two down, I would understand, right? You have to defend the Phoenixes and stuff. But they were very clean. They had all their Phoenixes up. The waves were kind of already pushed up, so it was, to me, I just don't really understand, why they weren't going for that enhanced fire giant, and just decided to just hand King Kai's that and basically the game from it.
Exactly that. Just not really having the vision on the fire giant, let alone the timings of it. Not really recognizing it was coming up so soon. Unable to really get into the sort of defensive position we see. This sort of fire giant dance, if you will, of both teams waiting to pull the trigger, wanting to pull the fire giant into their favor. But I think it all stems down to a lot of the more team fights as well. Although Texas of Yggdrasil did win a couple of them, they did stay around too long after and lose a couple of too many members after sort of getting that victory. And that Pyromancer mid game strikes me as one. They get a great fight in mid. They don't really have the burst there to do the Pyromancer, but they try it anyway, and it just allows Alfie to get straight into that back line, picks off Ghost Rider, sort of puts a lot of pressure into it. And it will be interesting to see if they maybe opt towards a different style of draft for the next game, trying to look for more teamfight ults. I think the Odin was a very strong pickup into this lineup, just really limiting what these teams could do.
Yeah, no, very good draft by King Kai's. You have to give it to him. Like, the Baba Yaga was so effective, and when, the picks like Daji and the Odin collided with the Baba Yaga, with the kits, the synergy was really good. Trapping earlier when Alfie trapped 5 of their players into the Odin cage, Barbie and Plush Rush just bursted them down with the ultimate on their own Phoenix, and it just pumped out so much damage. And in that last team fight, that last fight on the Phoenix to end the game, Plush Rush did so much damage, ended the game with 31,000, almost double of the next person on his team. Blank Tsukiyami is pretty far from Plush Rush on the play damage charts too, and very good job by Plush Rush, surely the MVP of this game.
What would you like to see Protectors of Yggdrasil try and do different in their drafts to try and get this win over King Kai's? What would you like to see the change take place?
I want to see a different jungler for sure. I I don't think Ghost Rider is. It had some really good Morgan outs. Like the idea was good, the execution wasn't the best. I definitely want to see him try to play just a different jungler. To be honest, but Fredis is always playing the Baron Simony. I won't take him off it. I want Blank Tsukiyomi to play a more safe, like mage sort of god. The Amusing Cab is kind of just 3 kills from Morton at that point. You could tell they were heavily targeting Blank Tsukiyomi in these fights. And well, during the mid phase of the game as well, he was just being ganked pretty much on cooldown. And you kind of have to expect that if you're Amusing Cab, really. Um, Beyond that, I don't think there's much changing to be done. Just a safer mage mid pick and maybe just a better jungler. I can't say I have seen too much Morgans in the jungle in recent memory.
Exactly that. I like the idea and the presence of it, using that Morrigan alongside your 2 global ultimates there from the Athena and the Chernobog, just trying to get a little bit more pressure across the entire map, but ultimately just having to use it on the Geb, the Daji in those team fights. And it did work well, as you say, but I think, as you said, you want a different, more sort of sought after assassin there. The Morrigan's all right when you get to late game, but if you're getting butchered early, it's kind of hard to reach that phase. And the Darji just straight from the get go was applying a lot of pressure in that mid lane, getting the first blood onto the Morrigan. Morrigan not really having the damage needed to counter the uh, damage coming through. So it will be interesting if we do see a second sort of more aggressive jungler come through on the side of Protection. So just trying to turn that around into their favor.
Yeah, no, they definitely have to do something. Because like that wasn't it. If they let King Kai's play their game, they're not gonna be able to you know, really get a win out of them. I mean, they've beat the Protectors Victor, still have beaten King Kai's before in an upset, and well, if they want to win again against King Kai's, they're gonna have to change something up and play with more. Let's say, mm, I don't know. They just need to, fancy their chances because just dropping that EFG and just not going for it is, to me, a sign of like lack of confidence, and you don't want that in a game of Smite. You need a big ego, you know.
Exactly that. I mean, they played well and they played good, and I think there was sparks of genius there in those engagements. Only just staying a little bit too long in those sort of team fights, uh, and actually, sorry, King Kai's just sort of capitalizing on it, recognizing how much damage they can do, what sort of plays they can make, recognizing where people are on the map, how they can turn different fights into their favor, and using that Odin dive really well into that sort of team to limit what can really do going forwards.
Yeah, no, Alfie Zeron did some really good engagements. And well, I'm excited to see the next game. We're going to just hop into a very quick break, real quick, as we do wait on game data. Um, the infamous loading screen of Smite. Just quickly go into a break. We'll be right back. See you in a second for game two. Hello and welcome back for game two as we got Protectors of Yggdrasil. Everything good. We're back with Snakebite Sam. He hasn't ran away yet. I've been able to keep him captive as we're here for, well, game two of this set. We did see Yggdrasil drop the game and scores are wrong. Oh my gosh, there's always just something wrong, isn't there? But yeah,
Exactly.
hello.
We do see Yggdrasil sort of lose that game there. Uh, two King Skies sort of very fast paced in that mid lane, running it down, trying to do what they can to get the advantage they needed to take the lead. They do go into new picks and bans here, and I want to see some change. Already it's coming through. Baba Yaga straight away banned out. Same with Yu Huang. No one really wanting to see him at the moment. Recognizing that Plush Rush did do a lot of damage with that pick, and they didn't really want to see it again.
Yeah, it kind of surprises me to be honest. I thought with the them having the first pick, they would, try to not ban out the Baba Yaga and give it to Blank Tsukiyomi, but maybe they just don't want to play Baba Yaga, which is fair play. Boring God, cringe God. Wants to not let Plush Rush get it at all costs. It looks like maybe trying to pivot for a different first pick here.
Exactly that. And we do see the others two going straight towards Morton there on the jungle. Darji, understandably, banned out. Um, Chiron, a little bit interesting, but I imagine he's very strong at the moment. And the Kepri, again, understandable for being banned out. Very strong support. One that I've seen picked up quite a bit, so obviously doesn't want to get played too much. Basically playing against 5.5 people with that res, very potent, especially in late game. So it will be interesting to see what sort of style Yggdrasil do go towards. And I think their first pick's got to be something strong, so it'll give them a good level going forwards. And it will be this Mercury that we have seen banned out quite a few times in most sets, bringing a lot of power, devastation to team. The auto attacks, assassins being very strong at the moment. It's going to be an interesting pickup going through.
Yeah, no, we see the Mercury. He's been really good in the past patch or two, but yeah, is he still that good? I think he is. I think he's still a strong pick, right? I'm not sure if he's as SS tier as he was before, with some item changes coming here and there. We do see the Geb and Heimdall pick though as well. Opting to pick the Heimdall again is Laylaw. I did like the Heimdall, he did pretty well with it, so why not bring it again as well as the Geb? Why not bring them both? If it worked, don't fix it, you know? That Texas Yggdrasil figured that one out for themselves.
Exactly that. I mean, Geb's ultimately being very strong at the moment. Crit being so meta means he has a lot of protections against it. His passive alone, halving that crit damage, keeping him very sort of tanky and alive. And the Heimdall just did absolute work in game one. Was there when it needed to be. Had the peel, had the sort of aggression as well to come through, and just played a very safe and secure games, focusing on the objectives, focusing on who he needed to in team fights, and just a strong pickup in general. As we do see a Yamoja being potentially hovered here, a little bit fallen out of favor, I would say, with the current nerfs, but still a very strong god, just not as prevalent as she used to be.
Yeah, got some pretty nasty nerfs to her, but honestly, I don't think you could really nerf a healing gods that much really, without straight out making them useless. And well, I think Emoja's still a very strong support pick and one of my favorite support picks. I love me a Yamoja, especially one that knows to utilize the crushing waves well. And yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if Don's Gaming can make this Yamoja work. I haven't really seen him play a Yamoja to be honest, and it'll be interesting to see uh, how he does on this Yamoja.
Do see the Mulan getting picked up. Quite a nice sort of safe god, I would say, in that solo lane. Has a little bit of CC, has a lot of damage and aggression. Just sort of a nice pickup. Uh, that arrow being able to try and drag people out, as the Kuka lane does also sneak through there, as equally as strong of a solo lane at the moment, having a lot of power and presence and team fight orientated abilities just to really disrupt the team it's going against. Both solo laners I don't see a problem with. They're both very strong, and I can see him being utilized very well.
Yeah, no, Kakona's definitely a very good pick right now. He's not one of those standout gods in the solo lane right now, but he's actually one of the. I feel like he's a dark horse in the solo lane right now. I think he's very underrated. You've seen Alfie01 play really well on him, and you're also seeing Liner as well play exceptionally well on him earlier in the league. Around I believe the finals of the mid-season, I think lineup did very well on him. I think Kakona's one of those overlooked picks in the solo lane right now, as well as Mulan. I think Mulan can definitely be a very good pick as well. We don't see a whole lot of her recently.
Now I am surprised we don't see King Kai sort of opt towards their jungle pick here, recognizing that it brings a lot of, I would say, flow to the game. The Darji there controlled that mid lane from pretty much minute two, trying to limit how much pressure the AMC and really that Morrigan at the same time could bring to the game. Uh, and they'll lose a lot of those auto attack assassins I was on about, the Kali, the Nemesis, both being banned out, as King Kais are looking towards that mid lane. Don't want to play against the Persephone. Don't really want to play against Thoth either. Both again, two very strong picks in the mid lane. So potentially we will see uh, a different style of mid, as we do see the all getting hovered here by King Kais.
I think the all is a bit of a mistake here, to be honest. I feel like gonna have a bit of a tough time if it's surely gonna go mid lane, maybe even jungle, but I doubt that too much. We have seen Morton get banned out heavily here. Four junglers, four jungle bans coming out. Oh, that's a bit of yikes. It's gonna test. He's gonna have to dig deep into the god pool here for sure. See what he pulls out in this final pick. We do see the Scylla and the Izanami. I do like me a Scylla right now. How about you?
Dilla's always just going to be a strong god, has exactly what you need. Good burst damage, good kill potential with the armor monster, the route for the setup, the 3 to escape. It's just really what you need in sort of that mid lane. Bit different from the AMC, has that escape potential. I was going to talk about the Izanami, which I very much like into this Heimdall. The Heimdall sort of having a lot of early wave clear with the AoE autos being able to clear the wave effectively. Izanami has even better wave clear with her autos going straight through the minions. So trying to have a bit more pressure into that ADC lane, as we do see the Najjar there being locked in by Morton, trying to have a little bit more setup. And I can't say I like the pickup of the Najjar.
I actually
It
hate it.
works. It works a lot better when you have a lot more follow up, maybe a big mage ability
Like a
to
Scylla.
follow up what exactly that. Scylla, or just something big, maybe even a Ra snipe or something like that. Ra brings a little bit of healing and got that big bursty ult as well. I understand how useful it can be, and with crit again being quite strong at the moment, it can be good, but I can't. It's I would have preferred seeing a different
To me,
jumper going
it
forward.
looks like they were like, oh, we need to burn beads, but they forgot. Oh, we burned the beads. Now what? You know, they forgot what to do after burning the beads. It looks to me, with the Neja and Heimdall, and they could call it now and the Gerbolt. But there's no real follow up onto the end of these ults. Looking at this draft, and I don't really like the Neja into this draft. I feel like having other mids, you kind of don't have that huge burst damage that a Scylla, a Kukulkan, a Ra, or something like that would have. And Neja, you don't really have. Well, I don't think Neja's that strong right now. She's a setup god, and there's not much on the end of the setup like we've been saying. And once outside of the setup, she doesn't really have a whole lot. You pluck someone, and then if you throw your one at them and there's no one around them, then you just get one. You don't get a bounce out of it. So it's like a 300 damage thing. If you build crit, yeah, sure, you can get a hefty amount of damage of them. But once they can just dash away or something like that, and well, you have no real follow up if you're plugged into them. Um, outside of that, and I don't feel like Ninja's a super strong pick here, and like I'm just gonna say it again, why not? Not much follow up on the end of these things.
It is interesting to note that don't have a lot of magical damage. Geb's not the most damaging support in the world here. He does a little bit with his knock up, but that's really all he's got. Maybe the rollout if you really want to get him, but you're not going to build Geb damage. You're going to build him tanky, so he's not really going to do a lot. So
Yeah.
really, on the side of on side of protective Yggdrasil, you're looking at this Yamodra and Mulan. They can just focus on this physical defense. I'm thinking sovereignty, emperors, all of that sort of stuff that you already see a lot of, but you don't really need to focus on, say, a Genjis or Shoguns, Pestilence, things like that. Sort of try and limit how much is coming through, and you can look towards these more niche pickups to an extent. You can look at the sort of pick up a Witchblade, stuff like that, to limit how much auto attack damage these two hunters can deal. You can look at the Midgardian Mail, limit how much they can throw out, and really try and limit the damage output from the side of King Kai's.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty big mistake. I think this is the worst King Kai's draft I've ever seen. Um, to be honest, which is disappointing from them because like they usually have really good drafts. Um, and I think it's very early to say, but like it's gonna be hard to win this game based on this draft. Honestly, like why wouldn't you? As well, like even in a Scylla, right? Just build a Spectrum and someone's bound to build crit and well if Najar's not building crit, she has crit in her kit anyway, so I feel like, getting a bit of physical protection, definitely a sovereignty on Don's gaming, and that will go a long way here. And it'll be interesting to see how they do go about this with this draft. See if maybe we're missing something here and there is some secret in the madness. Or genius in the madness? I don't know.
Exactly that. And, it is going to be an interesting fight to say the least. As you say, lacking that magical damage, your AoE damage isn't great on the side of King Kai's, but you do have two hunters with you, and hunters being very strong at the moment. If you can get towards that late game where they are fully built, they will just rip through pretty much anywhere. But on the other side, you have also got a late game Scylla, you've got a late game Mercury, you've got the Izanami, which isn't as late game as some of the other hunters, but has a very strong early game. So you've got that pressure in ADC, in sort of that long lane on the left, the ADC lane. It's going to be interesting, I think, this game, and I think it will come down to if the two jungles can pull it off. I think if King Kai's get ahead of this physical protection that's going to be built, they're going to have a very strong lineup. If Protected Yggdrasil can sort of not weather that early game, but just sort of keep even throughout most of it, I think they're going to have a very strong lineup. And as we go into game, it will be interesting to see who has that sort of power play.
Yeah, no, it's just I don't know. I'm still baffled, honestly, from the draft, but it's gonna be interesting to see how King's still this. And oh, here we go. We got Feathers in the solo lane. We got Alpha01 in the solo lane. Ghostwire 62 Morton in the jungle. Blank Tsukiyomi and Plush Rush holding the mid lane. Don's gaming and Narc Mushroom right behind, right in front of them, supporting them all the way. And Laylaw and Karali Kid in the carry role.
Already we're seeing this physical protection being built very quickly already. You're looking for probably a sovereignty there in the Emoja and a breastplate for the Mulan. Can't really complain about this. And this is what I was saying in this ADC lane. The Izanami just having so much presence with those AoE auto attacks. Or auto attacks that go through the minions. She's able to clear lane very quickly. And can now look towards the mid lane. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, you do see Morton taking a lot of damage there from the Mercury and Scylla. Just having a lot of burst and lockdown potential. Hitting 2 to provide a lot of pressure. Just trying to push their team ahead in that lane.
Really good job by Ghost Rider to really have the confidence and just go make that play right there. Really put some nerve onto King Kai's there, and Morton especially just getting so much damage onto him, and it makes Morton think twice about standing right in front of a Mercury and Scylla.
Exactly that. They're not having as much damage as the Darji in the first game. We are seeing a lot of pressure onto Blank Tsukiyomi. The ring bounce does ricochet, but not really enough to kill. And that's really where your damage is coming through there. That sort of chain CC from the Ulla. The axe into the arrow stand to hit the one and the arrows from the sky. Just not... It's a lot, but you've got to have... If you can get good at it, you can do it on your own, but it's very single target based. You're not really looking at these AoEs. We are seeing the Scylla now level down, but just trying to clear the wave best they can.
Yeah, Scylla's gonna struggle with clearing wave, especially if she's low. She just can't really go out too far without, especially Ola of all gods. Ola's very aggressive, looking at any time just leap in and stun you, just peg on style, just W key you and solo kill you in the mid lane. Blank Tsukiyomi definitely needs to be careful but it's hard as Silicus trying two crushes so far, and well, it still needs an auto attacks and maybe no ability to clear that wave. It's a big struggle for Silas.
This is still good for the All here, being able to steal all the neutral farm across the map and just try and push that lead. And I'm saying this is exactly what you kind of really needed your mid lane to do in this situation, is push that lead, get their carries ahead, and try and start winning the game before a lot of this defense can come online. You see a slight lead in this solo lane. Alfie their own just getting a little bit of a lead. That wave pressure advantage will force Threaders under tower with that minion wave.
Yeah, and I think good pressure by Alfie so far. Two very high pressure solo laners here. Kakon and Francis. Kakon is about to go into rage form, and this might be in trouble here.
Got the pressure, but no real follow up after the fact, and you have Ghost Riders there in the wings, waiting to see if he can try and make a play onto it. Morton is coming into this duo lane, will catch the Izanami, but it's a good stun on the side of the Yemoja from Don's Gaming to allow the Izanami to get out.
What a good stun by Don's Gaming. Very on point there, was able to visualize what was happening and how to prevent it from happening, because that was a very good stun, and it did pull away the beads from Morton as well, so that's pretty huge. Good playing by Don's Gaming to peel for his carry there. We do
bit of a level pegging. Thread's getting a little low. Will he choose to back out and go towards that blue buff that is now spawned? It's quite even here in the grand scheme of things. King Kai's got a slight advantage. I reckon that's mostly in that sort of. Alfie's getting a bit aggressive here towards Threaders. Threaders will back out. Ghost Rider is here. He does get aggressive into it. Good damage coming through from Alfie. Managed to CC a lot of them, but Scylla is here as well and does have the root. Misses the root, looking for the crush, does hit it. Miss ult from the Mercury, as we are now going to see the Mulan coming in, as the Najjar is also supplying pressure. The Ulla has arrived, does get the kill there, helping the Najjar. Threaders will just about make it out, with Blank Sea Gaming being a bit of a dangerous spot here, with 3 members still hanging around. But ultimately will decide to steal that farm away from the Order side.
I think Alfie wants to be careful here. Blank Sea Gaming could put out a bit of damage. I don't think it'll be enough though. Blank Sea Gaming now needs to get away. Very low, but still needs to get away because it doesn't have anything up. Ghost Riders defending his speed buff, and Blank Sea Gaming here with the crush at the end of it, and Ghost Rider might get a kill on the Morton.
Yeah, we are seeing Ula come over, does steal the speed buff and does get taken down by Threaders there. Good rotations. Morton just getting a little bit too aggressive, trying to get that jungler on the side of Yggdrasil down. Ultimately does take the speed, which will limit his rotation speed in his farm, and does have his own speed up, so you definitely have the advantage there. It's a difficult one. I think Yggdrasil sort of stayed around a little bit longer than perhaps they should have. You know, I don't think it's the best ideas of your jungler to make that play to limit, you know, get the speed, but sort of, yeah, you die for it, so you're putting yourself down a little bit. We'll see how that sort of plays out later on. For the most part, it's a pretty easy match. King Kai's got a little bit more of an advantage from that sort of first blood bounty, and he sort of levels out again as you're going to see teams go back to farming.
Yeah, I know they're going to go back to farming now, but very promising by Protector of Yggdrasil to, in that fight, getting Threaders out safely and getting that kill onto Morton as well is pretty big. Showing that, no, you can all come into my jungle and just come take my speed buff as you will. Really makes him a second think of that in the future for sure. And just good awareness by Ghost Rider to and Blank Suku to be on top of Morton there.
And already Yemoja's going heavily into this physical defense, as we're seeing here one of what I can only assume to be a Lotus Crown here. It's giving the rest of the team a little bit more protections with that healing wherever possible. So you've already got the sovereignty. You're gonna add on a Lotus Crown on top of that. It's kind of a lot of protections to shred through on a carry that you're used to not having a lot that you can shred through. So it's going to be interesting, and like I said, for the most part, effectively Yggdrasil just don't want to get behind. If they can stay even through this sort of early to mid game, if they can, you know, stay ahead even if you know the fight turns into their favor, that's great for them. They're looking towards this late game and they have these items, they have these protections, and it will be interesting to see if King Kais can try and leverage a lead to sort of put them in a bad spot.
Yeah, we did see Ghost Rider try to hank Laylaw there, but Laylaw did recognize that he was there and went away. But Morton in the air right now.
Pressure on this solo lane, but at the end of the day, that is a Mulan with a full breastplate. You're not really going to get through a lot of that health with those protections.
Yeah, well, no follow-up again. No follow-ups, so not really much going to come out of that. Yeah, this one I spent a lot of time in suicide of the map right now. I'd like to see him maybe try to look for invade on that red buff. Honestly, well, it's a bit too late now, obviously, but I don't know. Do Psych whilst Morton was on the right side on top of the solo lane, you know? Maybe even I don't know. Do something, God's sake.
Trying to steal farm where they can, basically. And
yeah.
I think that is the game, aiming the game with these junglers, just trying to limit what each one can do in this engagement, in this fight. I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, King Kais are trying to push the gas, but they can't really get the car rolling. They're trying to push these advantages. They're taking these fights in this solo lane with the duo side. We are going to see a gank attempt from the side of protection from Yggdrasil onto this Cullen. He is taking a lot of damage here from his Mercury. He started hitting with his Golden Blade and is looking towards it. Mulan ult does come through and will pick up the kill as Morton now tries to make a counter engagement. But it is going to be a 1v2 and they are going to still try and fight this. But the CC is good and does manage to get the ult onto Ghost Rider, but I can't imagine he's going to get out of this alive.
Yeah.
He doesn't. A 2-for-1 in the side of Protection Yggdrasil, as we do see Yamoja and the Scylla getting a counter kill, of a kill of their own, I should say, on Plush Rush and that all in the mid. And this is not what you want to see as a King Kais fan.
Yeah, King Kai's been trying to push the initiative all game, and well, they've got what they wanted, and now Protection Yggdrasil are fighting back and doing really well. Bit of a rift ult there, but so Laylor's gonna be regretting that choice there as the beats do come out from Karate Kid, and Karate Kid gets the solo kill onto Laylor.
A bit of a late deicide, and they pick up the Pyromance for it as well. Just a little bit more farm in their bank. Sort of a lot of damage onto that tier 1 Taran left as well, just trying to limit how much this Heimdall can push up in these fights. And I'm surprised they didn't look towards maybe a Gold Fury or try and push their lead further. Yeah, they're on the wrong side of the map for it, but even still,
I mean,
a lot of King Kais sort of come back to lane.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, still a huge improvement from Protection Yggdrasil. If we saw the sets from earlier in the league, they wouldn't be on top of these objectives. I don't even know if they would have went for the Pyromance, and it was nice to see them on top of these objectives. If not, you know, the most efficient way, but they still got the idea now. And it's honestly, we've seen Protection Yggdrasil grow and get even better as this league comes on, and they haven't looked to stop. And honestly, coming a bit of a kryptonite for King Kais, I think, so far. And they're doing a really good job here. Morton tries to engage with the blank Tsukiyomi. Nothing coming out of that. Beats do come out from blank Tsukiyomi, however.
Always just going to be a win in Jungler's book. Pulling beads where you can just means you can target them next in the team fight. So, normally, nothing gained. Well, beads used on Scylla, that's gained. And you didn't really expend anything for it, so happy days on the side for Morton there, just being able to use that threatening choice of his ult. Didn't even have to use it.
Yeah, no, did not even have to use it. And Alfie still one's in trouble here. Fredus, an absolute menace on this Mulan right now, is able to push him back into the tower. And Fredus is just going to hop away back to his blue buff.
Back to that. I'm surprised. Oh, I was going to say surprised we didn't see pressure on the blue, but it's not up. Yeah, it's got breastplate, got glad shield. Happy days for Mulan there. It's got the power, got protections, and is able to just sort of use the abilities, spam the abilities as much as possible, and deal as much damage as you can. Can't really complain about that, as we are going to see trying to aggress onto this Yemoja. So Yemoja, you're not going to get a lot out of that.
I mean, Don's game is higher level than King Kaiser's mid right now, plus Rush. That's kind of insane to see right now. If you're
Exactly right.
a mid lane and you're down level and the enemy team support, that's not a good sign.
Just a bit of a weird one. We do see Nijar Sash slightly off the mark there. Yeah, I think to an extent it's Plus Rush has been looking for these sort of engagements and nothing really is gained from it. So he's been using a lot of farm, the grand scheme of things, to either tower or just Predator Yggdrasil being able to take it away from him when he's not there. You don't like to see it, but it does happen, and Yemoja has been power leveling, same level as their own mid and their jungle.
I honestly think the way King Kaiser playing against Protectors Yggdrasil, and they've done this did this in mid-season 2, is they're playing too much for this early aggression. Like they're trying too hard, too much in these early levels of the game to try and get kills and whatnot. Very good awareness by Don's game to get that crush on waves, and my god, Protectors Yggdrasil being on point with objectives today, that is not something I'm used to seeing, and it's very impressive improvement by them so far in this game. They
sort of caught sleeping, as we do see the Scylla get taken up in the air by the Nijar, and it is going to be a bit of a heavy engage on mid, but Scylla is able to get out, and already we're seeing these protections coming through on the side of Don's Gaming there, with the Top and the Lotus Crown and the Shell. I mean, that Scylla's been engaged on by 4 people, and still full health, and it's just turning the fight now. Geb is taking down, is taking low health, his own is out of position, and is getting aggressed on. Does push 2 with him, trying to back out, and will have the rest of his team there, but how far does it go? The Heimdall now running away a little bit far, and is getting aggressed on again. Do see the rest of the team backing up. Good beats pulled and goes straight back in with the Merc ult. Aegis is used, he does use the ult to disengage. We will see a lot of the team try and back out, but Ulla is in a bit of a dangerous position, trying to do some damage over the wall, maybe trying to catch someone sleeping. Do see the rest of the team come back into this mid lane and just try and see what they can do.
I've got to say, who's playing on Ghost Rider's account? Because that is not Ghost Rider. He's coming out as a different player right now. I've not seen him be this precise in aggression. Precise in aggression, I guess is the right word. He's playing really well so far, and well, up they go. Nashal coming, and Blake Tsukiyomi's got the ultimate for it. And nothing.
Using the counter roll, trying to catch the Nijar on the way down. Nijar does come back, bounce back. Alphazone has gone deep into the backline, but is being pressured out by 4 members. Meanwhile, the Mulan is trying to escape, but it's taking a lot of damage. Good is an army out there to try a good silence. The Kukulkan does go down, and it's the 2 down from the crush there from the Scylla, taking both the Geb and the Heimdall out in one fell swoop, and they're going straight towards that Pyromancer, just trying to take that little bit of farm across the map, taking these big objectives to try and push their lead.
Protectors of Yggdrasil are playing this really well. They're playing on King Kaiser's aggression, and King Kaiser just kind of default on aggression mode despite being down in levels in gold and items. Like, they just won't stop it, and Fire Giant being pulled by Protectors of Yggdrasil, and King Kai's nowhere to be seen. Morton's in the left side of the map. No defense here. No defense here on this Fire Giant. This game, it might go down, doesn't go down. He's able to keep his life and the Fire Giant. And Fire Giant for Protectors of Yggdrasil at 16 minutes. I thought I would never say that, especially against a team like King Kai's, who are usually on point with these sort of things. And
that just caught sleeping again. No one really face checked it. You did only have 2 members, so maybe you didn't really want to fight it anyway. But even just slinging a couple of abilities, just trying to keep them in that Fire Giant pit for as long as possible, allow the Fire Giant to do damage for you. Yeah, just being able to recognize how much damage you have, how tanky you can be to that Fire Giant, and just taking it away on the side of King Kai's, just being able to put it into your own pockets.
yeah, no, being around the level 15 level, you know, you're going to struggle to do that Fire Giant. I would definitely want to see someone for King Kai's to cause a disturbance in that and try to poke out some damage at the very least. Just try and pull them away from it. But I gotta talk about how King Kai's are playing against Protectors Yggdrasil, and they did this in the mid-season as well in the semis. And it's a mistake that they're making is they're playing really aggressive and particularly no reason. I want some calculated aggression to farm up and get the lead like they did in game 1. They farmed really well and got the lead. Protectors Yggdrasil are just playing against their aggression very well, and I think that's something King Kai's need to recognize and trying to really just farm up. Well, it's kind of hard to now that they got the Fire Giant down and Protectors Yggdrasil are charging down the right lane. Whilst Karate Kid is on the left lane for some reason, but he's chilling.
Split pushing, standard ADC things, just trying to get as much gold as possible. Buffers does come over, as you're going to see. 2 towers falling to the right hand side, so a bit more gold in pocket. Blank's UV has gone very well deep, and it is paying off in their favour. I'm a Monster ripping through, does get the 1, does get the 2, as we are now looking towards Alfie, who is trying to back away, but ultimately he's trying to do what he can, but he's just getting pinned down and CC'd down, and it will be a Phoenix, which is mind-boggling at 80 minutes. Just trying to take these fights, trying to push you and get advantage. And it's like a different team we're seeing on the side of Protector Yggdrasil. One will fall down, and again, it's Phoenix come down, 4 dead. Flash Rush was on that left-hand side trying to pop the Izanami. Don't hate the play, but yeah, it's difficult.
I am convinced someone is playing Ghost Rider's account because this is not Ghost Rider. He's playing really well, and big credit to him. The engagement by Fredas and Ghost Rider there was just so calculated and well done, and utter credit to them. They're playing this really well, and I'm really enjoying this synergy we're seeing from Fredas and Ghost Rider so far. They've really improved, and you know, Ghost Rider being who was like always in the bottom of the jungle power rankings, definitely gonna make a good stake in those power rankings for sure after this performance.
Well, they left the Izanami in that left lane, just to be able to take that tier 2 for free, go straight to that sort of Oni Fury as well. Again, they're playing the map well, they're in the right place at the right time, and they're sort of leaving King Kai's sort of, what's the word, sort of almost scratching their heads, not really sure where they want to be, what they want to sort of tank or not tank, what they want to try and push, where they want to try and aggress on. And it's a difficult one. I think, how would you, as someone in this game, sort of get King Kai's back into the driving seat? How would you get them back on that level pace?
Well, second like this, try to get a pick somewhere, I guess, if you can, but just trying to farm up, honestly. Yeah, there's your player damage. Blank's barely in the lead. Yeah, I mean, you can't really do much here right now. You can't really farm up because Protectors Victor still own 80% of the map right now, and Ghost Rider's stalking around in the jungle over there. And, well, looks like they're pushing for the T2 mid tower. And they just need to pick up a good engagement, good poke there by Flash Rush. Continue with that poke as well. Fire Giant is coming up very shortly, in 25 seconds. This tier 2 tower will go down with it.
He's looking for something, but I think he's just going to have to back off here, as I think this team's just going to have to protect. You just got all the towers off. That's really all you can ask for with that first Fire Giant, if you haven't already shredded through it. And they're going straight there, getting the Pyromancer, probably getting a good sort of defensive ward set up, and get positioning around this Fire Giant, ready for the next push. But they're going to have to be careful because, unlike the other objectives, King Kai's are here. They have sort of, they're stepping up, they're recognizing that if they lose this, they probably lose the game. And they want to try and make a defensive set around this.
Yeah, they really need to be on top of this Fire Giant, and luckily the Phoenix that is down is on the Fire Giant's side as opposed to on the other side, so they are able to be here and present whilst defending that Phoenix that is down. But looks like they're pulling it. So Yggdrasil are starting the Fire Giant, and King Kai's are aware now. Alfie still wants to go in, but no support here. And Flash Rush tries to get the steal, but the Yggdrasil have the Fire Giant once again, and they're going to charge down that right lane.
that's all you can really do on the side of King Kai's there. You know, you step in, they're just going to use the emoji rules to bait you into a fight, and you do see Priscilla dashing in aggressively here, looking towards the Geb, and Murko does come through, catches the Heimdall, who has now got the shell and the bead used, does try and back out. We are looking towards that thing. Morton misses the ult, looking for a pick in the backline, doesn't really work out, but does manage to escape with good peel from the team. The rest of the team are just pulling people slowly in one by one, trying to look for these picks. Does take down that right Phoenix again and goes straight towards that mid lane. After this, got the fire giant advantage, got the healing, got the power needed. DC Thread is a little bit far forward, but does have the tankiness needed to keep him topped up, and this mid Phoenix is going to fall down very slowly. DC Morton again going in aggressive, does get the pick onto Don's Gaming. The support from Umoja is down. Damage is coming through, but they're juggling Alfie here with the CC that they have in their hand. I think they're just going to back off from this with a good little victory of taking both the right and the mid Phoenix down.
Yeah, it's huge potential acceleration. Yeah, respawn Don's Gaming back into the game and go at it maybe once again. Just play for this goal 3 that's coming up as well in 1 minute. Very well done with potential Yggdrasil. They do get 2 fixes with pretty much ease here, and again, Ghost Rider amazing initiation with the ultimate. It was just really make things happen, and yeah, I've got to say, really good job by him so far in this game. He's really doing well in this game, and like Tsukiyomi Sini is what's the word for it? He's soaking in the rewards, I guess you could say.
Exactly that. I mean, it's a completely different jungle that we saw from game 1, and it just shows that when you have that little bit of advantage in that early game, a little bit more damage on your sort of your pick, you're able to turn it into these advantages. And this Merc has again had that CC in the early game, just that little bit extra, almost setup and synergy to work with the mid lane. As we do see Fletcher just going for the goal Fury, just trying to really limit what King Kai can get on this map. They don't want him to try and ease their way back into the game. Goal Fury going down nice and easy. I wouldn't be surprised if we're now going to see a big grouping on this left-hand side, as a lot of the members of King Kai's gone towards this right, clearing fire waves, just trying to get farm where they can in the map.
Yeah, well, we're going to start seeing Protectors of Yggdrasil go towards this, well, maybe Final Fix, or maybe they'll look to end here. I'm not too sure. They don't have too much time on this Fire Giant, so they will look for this Duoside Phoenix, and not much defense pivoted towards this Phoenix right now, and they're going to push the Trebuchet, but I don't think that's going to do too much, and it's going to do enough actually. And Balfi's taking a considerable amount of damage there.
Don't have minions, don't have the backdoor protections removed, not really able to shred through as quickly as possible. Although King Kai's were late to that defense, they had the Trebuchet, which they have to burn through first, so it's not end of the world, but you have still got 2 minions just streaming into this Titan, and you do see Thread is now going in on that Mulan, doesn't see the old Geb is burst low and is going to take a lot of damage. Ghost Rider in the background already is picked up Alpha their own, still at ult slightly off the mark on that second target, but ultimately you're now looking at 3 Phoenixes down. They're just going to push into this Titan. 4v5 advantage is looking good for Yggdrasil. They have got all the minions pouring as well. Don's Gaming a little bit low, but we'll have the emoji healing to keep them topped up. We are seeing Morton in the backline has grabbed the Mercury and will try and do a lot of damage, but a lot of damage coming from the Scylla with the Crush as well, as the Titan is now half health. He's just doing a lot of work in this fight. The ult does come through from Don's Gaming, trying to split the fight up. Alfie trying to do what he can into the backline, but he's just getting CC'd down, as we do see Morton getting absolutely destroyed there by the Izanami ult, and very quickly onto that fast rush as well. It's turning into their favour, as you do see Heimdall taking a lot of damage. Similar goes to the 2 backlines on the side of Protector, so good get ult there, try and pull them away. Alfie is back with full health. We are seeing a lot of damage coming through, minions are doing a lot, and the Mulan will get the final kill, and the Titan there. Just a bit of a split fight towards the end, but Protector still do have the damage, do have the minions, and will take game 2.
Protectors of Yggdrasil just took game 2 and just poked at that Titan, and well, King Kai's once again not knowing when a fight's over, you know, just they pulled back the advantage in that fight and just didn't back off when they should have backed off. Basically, I mean they had a time to defend, but they could have easily just poked Fredus out of that Titan room pretty evenly. I gotta say, but protected Yggdrasil as the Phoenix Siege on the Dur side there played the map really well. They waited for those two Oni Fire minions to come in. Was it Oni Fire or just Fire minions? I'm not sure. Doesn't matter regardless. Just to push into that Titan room and force somebody to the defense before just jumping in, Fredus ulting into that backline. He did really well in this game, and well, good job by Protectors Victor Seal to get this victory. A very hard, well earned victory here.
Exactly that. I think it's a completely different team to what we saw in that sort of game one. They rather than getting a lot of aggression in that early game where they very quickly sort of slipped away the loss, they weathered the storm, and it's exactly what they did in the semi-finals in the mid-season. They sort of weathered that storm, recognized that King Kai's are looking for these early game aggressions, and just sort of went, okay, well, we'll give up a little bit. We'll give up a little bit of our farm. We'll give up these mid camps in the early game. Yeah, it gives you a level ahead of us, but as long as we don't go 5k gold down, as long as we don't go, 3 levels down, they were able to weather it into that sort of mid game and get to a point where they could counter engage on these aggressive plays that King Kais were trying to push into their favor and come out ahead on them. And it's that in itself which did them a favor, like just trying to get the lead, and then once you got that one, it takes one team fight to turn it into their favor. And I think it was around that pyromancer, the very first pyromancer. They had a bit of a split fight, but again, King Kai's got a bit too aggressive, and they just managed to punish them for it. They managed to get the kill and very quickly turn a gold lead, which wasn't in their favor, to being 2k into their favor from just getting 4 kills and a pyromancer, just being able to accept that they don't have as much early game pressure as they would like. They don't have that early game team fight that they would want, and they're better for the mid game, and they just waited for it, and they worked perfectly in their favor.
Yeah, well, Protectors Yggdrasil played that really well. They played on King Kai's aggression and played on the fact that King Kai's just wouldn't just uh leave the fight when they should have, and they took some bad fights there, and it really costed them. And then from there, Potato Yggdrasil were able to play the map really well and pick up those objectives to get that golden XP lead that you would expect King Kais to sort of do. Really play semi-aggressively, like passive aggressive sort of, just to get that pressure and then push it onto those objectives and maybe get a pick here and there, and then farm for a lead and then play the late game. But they did a bit too much aggression throughout the game, and it really cost them because Protector Yggdrasil really learned how to play against it, especially against King Kai's. It seems like so far they have the King Kai's number. Um, and I gotta say, Ghost Rider and Threaders coordinate. I just made up a word there. Um, Coordinated very well. To initiate these dives onto the back line and make initiations throughout the game, and did a really good job there. Ghost Rider did a good job, and First did exceptionally well as well as Blank Tsukiyami being able to output that damage throughout that game and really push the initiative.
And I quite like the some of the shot calling as well on the side of Protector Still. Like you said, they managed to catch King Kai's in this game a lot unaware. That 16-minute fire giant. It's not really heard of. You're looking at fire giant around 20 minutes, but just recognizing that, okay, there is enough of us here. Why don't we try it? Why don't we pull the trigger and see what the response is, what comes out from it, and how we can try and turn it into our favor. And it worked perfectly. They got the fire giant 16 minutes. No one really was aware it was happening, or came over to try and contest it. And they just used that to their advantage, then turn the lead into their favor and just push that to getting all the towers. Get all the towers, cool. You got a load of gold. Spend the gold, get a load more items. Use that in itself to then push a team fight to then get the next fire giant. Everything sort of worked very well for them after basically one or two good team fights in that sort of early to mid game.
Yeah, no, I don't know, man. Protect Yggdrasil did really have some really good choco on in that fight. Like, they were on top of every global objective around the map. Every Pyromancer, they got really early Pyromancers when they won the fight in around mid lane. They were like, jump on the Pyromancer, as you should. Which, honestly, like, watching that team like really early on to the season, the first few weeks, they're completely different now, and it's not even just because the team's different, really. It's because the way they're playing is completely different, and they're playing smite as you should, and they're playing against the sort of aggression as they should. They're countering it very well, and they're actually on time. Jungle timers. That's right, Ghost Rider. You're on jungle timers. Isn't that great? Isn't it great being you know, not behind. Isn't it great? They're just really playing this well and playing the map, and they're really understanding how the game works, which is great to see.
Would what would you like to see King Kai's do differently in this game?
Uh,
How would you like
s-
them to see make the adaptations to try and get ahead on the next one?
I've said it throughout the game. They need to play aggressive as they do, but not as aggressive as they do at the same time. They need to pick their fights well, and they need to know they're gonna come out of the fight with the win, basically, and just play on basically the passiveness of Protect Yggdrasil that they do usually play with, right? Um, and just try to just farm for that lead and get the neutral camps, get the Pyromancers, maybe even the Gold Furies. Just try to play for passively aggressively, getting that farm up and fight for those neutrals, etc., and just go from there. Once you get that lead, then you can fight as a group and fight for that late game because we saw in game one they played really well in the late game. Once they're all grouped up, especially, and we want that. And not only that, we need to talk about the draft. The drafting from King Kai's wasn't that good. And I definitely want to see a better draft come into game three.
Exactly what I was going to say. I think King Kai's have the play style and the style that they want to play is very good and it works most of the time. But for me, I think it boils down to that sort of mid and jungle pickup. They're both very good players. Don't get me wrong, but I think the Najjar you need a good mid laner and the Ulla in mid and then the Najjar picked up in the jungle. You're kind of limiting your team to only that sort of physical damage and the other team could just capitalize on it, and it works. But you need to get ahead, and in this situation, they didn't get ahead. So ultimately, they're trying to fight into a team which is just tankier than them. So they've got to try and do more damage, and it didn't really work out in their favor. I think you could keep that style of draft, but either change the mid into something a bit more bursty to try and capitalize on the Najjar picks, or you could keep the Yule but try and get a bit of a different jungle style, maybe like a Gabrakan or
Ebo.
something a bit more, spreads the damage out evenly. Potentially, you can keep the same sort of setup, but at the same time, you want that sort of AoE damage that they didn't really have. They had the two ADCs, which did, if they can get to that late game, shred through whatever they want, but it's just getting to that late game.
Yeah, absolutely. Get into that late game. They need to get that, and honestly, make sure you have a magical damager that isn't a support as well. That is definitely a bit of a blunder on their behalf. Um, Especially when they don't have any. They have so much setup but nothing on the end of it, which isn't nice. Yes. Yeah. We'll see. We're going to game two just very shortly. As we are loading in to the game two pick and bans. Or game two, game three, even. Um, be interesting to see the drought of this next phase, don't you think?
Yeah, I would like to see King Kai's put a bit more priority on their jungle pick. I felt they left that a little bit too late to the point where there wasn't a lot of sort of more meta picks, I would say, available to them. As we do see King Kai's have opted to pick up that sort of first pick position. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Maybe they try and leave some of the picks in. Baba Yaga still banned out Yu Huang. Again, don't blame either of those picks. Baba Yaga was a very strong style, and Yu Huang, he's new, has a lot of pressure with him. The Mercury banned out, and we are probably going to see a lot more jungle bans out here on the side of protection of Yggdrasil.
Yeah, I expect to see them continue to ban out Morton. They do ban out the Mercury despite playing a last game because Morton is known for having a pretty good Mercury, and having that first pick, more Mercury first pick isn't a bad thing, a bad pick. So why not ban it out? Make sure Morton doesn't get it. Put him on something that he isn't maybe as in tuned on.
Does leave the Darji open though, which is something we saw from the first game that was quite strong. So it'd be interesting to see if they do, which they have locked in this Jing Wei, very strong pick, just in general with the amount of global presence with that passive and the AoE crit on her too. It'd be interesting to see if they try and pick up the Darji on the side of protection of Yggdrasil, just trying to keep it away from Morton, uh, realizing how much presence he had in the early game. And if they do let it through on the side of King Kai's and King Kai's pick it up, I would like to see him pick up a mid laner which can escape that sort of damage that the Darji can bring. As we do see the front line being locked in very early for the side of protection of Yggdrasil.
I mean, yeah, I like that a lot. When I'm drafting, I want to get my front line um, ready. Honestly, I think drafting your back line is kind of a bad thing to do, honestly, because it makes it very prone to the enemy jungler picking something that's really good into the back line. Whereas you have a solid front line, you can pick early, you can it's not really much a jungle pick can really do about that, right? You still don't know what's behind that front line, so it becomes risky to picking like a jungler, like maybe that's one that's not too safe, for example. I don't know how to explain it, but basically I like the frontline picks early on here.
We do see a Shiva and a Kali picked up. Shiva's going into that solo lane against this Mulan. Kali coming through for that bit sort of late game aggression and survivability with the ult. I am surprised we didn't see Morton go back to that Darji with how much pressure it had in the first game. Uh, Kali pick, Shiva pick. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, Alfie one is has been running around with a Shiva that's very scary, so I'm excited to see it. He has been banned out on it quite a bit, just because of he's been playing in like in houses of scrims and just destroying with it, and it's been passed around the GSL community a bit. So it'd be exciting to see him on it. Shiva, not as amazing as he was, but he's still a very strong pick. Um, I'm excited to see him on it. I think it'll be a good pick here. And the Kali, yeah, we want to see Morton on those auto attack jungles. They cringe junglers. He's known for that. Playing his let's say just cringe junglers. And Kali's offers so much. Just able to disrupt backlines so easily and so well. And your Mojo might struggle a bit peeling out this Kali, but also might not. We do see the Scylla locked in again. Blank Tsukiyomi opting to go that Scylla again, which I really like because he played very well on it. And we're seeing basically the same pick so far for Protected Yggdrasil.
Exactly that. I mean, Silla's such a solid pickup. Just guaranteed a lot of damage. Uh, Late game, does alright early, has the escapability needed to try and escape some of these jungles and solos as they're going to try and chase people down. And the bans do come out, and we are seeing a lot of targeted bans towards that sort of mid lane on the side of King Kai's. Just they don't want him playing either Poseidon or Soft. And the junglers on Protected Yggdrasil, both missing key pieces of their draft, trying to limit how much they can do with these sort of, as you say, auto attack junglers, which have been very prevalent at the moment in the meta.
Yeah, we just see a Circuit over here. I don't see a whole lot of Circuit, but I can't imagine she would be too bad. But it is changed to a Ratataska, and that is bad. Ratataska, he hasn't. He's never. He's Ratataska. And Ghost Rider's most comfortable pick, I think, in Smite is Ratataska. And I think it's a bit of a risk picking the Ratataska here, but maybe it'll pay off.
Rat does have, a bit of global presence and a little of pressure, and I did think he received a buff recently as well, so maybe he's strong enough that they want to try him out, bring him back, see how it goes. As you say, a little bit of a gamble in your last game of a best of three, winner takes all. You do see a Discordia and a Bacchus hovered here on the left, recognizing that, Discordia is an all right. Nope, swatching Tiamat. Discordia is an all right mid, has a bit of CC, bit of an escape, but Tiamat, pretty strong mid, has a lot of damage, a lot of setup, a lot of chase potential. As well as just using that ult to try and really disrupt the team fight. Bacchus is always going to be strong, very aggressive support, has the knock up, has the big cone stun, and the ultimate's always going to be very annoying in a team fight. So using that to really disrupt the areas. We do see the last lock-in is going to be the Apollo, so more global pressure on the side of Protectors of Yggdrasil.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, there's potentially just have an interesting draft, to be honest here. I do think it's not a bad draft either. It's pretty good. Um, Karate Kid, we saw him split push in the last game, and well, this Apollo pick here definitely enables the split pushing behavior. And it's gonna be interesting to see how it works out in the later stages of this game, as we do go into it. Um, Very interesting drafts on both teams. I actually really like the in Kaiser's draft. We got a tanky backline. A very safe one too, with the Jing Wei, and it's gonna be a tough one to crack. I think for Protectors Yggdrasil. That time from Mulan is gonna be. It's gonna be interesting to see how they go about fighting in these. It's gonna be an interesting team fights. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly that. I think King Kaiser drafted a draft here which is very dive centric, which to an extent is their playstyle. You got the backers who can jump in, the Tiamat that can jump in. Shiva's just going to dance his way through that backline as much as possible and can heal the team while they're diving. Kali, dive centric, jump in, use the ult, do damage. And then you've got the Jingwei, which is probably one of the safest hunters in the game. You have this ability to leave her on an island, and if she gets aggressed on, she can ult into the air, go a decent amount of distance, land, and then dash again. So a pretty solid front line. But on the flip side, you've also got a lot of strong picks on the side of Protector Yggdrasil. Yamoja's, no matter how many nerfs he's going to get, is going to have use. The healer alone is useful. The ult is probably one of the more stronger aspects of her kit, being able to limit where people can go and probably limit some of this dive. Wait for them to use all their jumps onto your backline, throw the walls up and let your backline walk through it. And it's going to limit how much chase potential, if you used right, can sort of stop them. And you got the Scylla, which is again a great safe pick. You get dived on, use your 3, you're out of the fight. Use the ult, extra movement speed and lots of damage as they're chasing you. You got the Apollo, can use that ult to try and escape, or as an engage, try and get global presence. And the Rat is going to be. You haven't really seen much of Rat. He's going to be an interesting god pickup. I think when you do see him, he tends to be in solo with the healing Acorn, so it'll be interesting to see what sort of style he goes and what pickups. And I think the Mulan at the back end of it, always a solid solo. Never really, I wouldn't say he's ever really a sort of top tier, never really reached that extent to a point, but he's always up there in like A. He's a solid solo laner, has just what you want, a bit of healing, bit of CC, a lot of kill potential. So what more could you ask for?
Yeah, it's certainly a good pick, and why not pick it, especially if you've been playing it really well elsewhere. We do get started in this game for, well, winner takes all the points in this game. Can protect his Yggdrasil, pull off the upset once again, and prove himself as King Kaiser's kryptonite, or will King Kaiser go back to winning ways and put their stamp onto this game? Let's see how they play this out.
Nothing too different here in the starting stages, just both teams getting their buffs, going to lane. We do see the Shiva having a bit more pressure in the lane as the Bacchus now has hit level 2 and is looking for a similar amount of damage, but does take a lot of damage here from the Apollo. As again, just backs off, uses those pots to heal up, has got green as well to do a bit of protections, and we'll just use that just to try and be a little bit obnoxious and limit how much push potential the protection of Yggdrasil actually have, as we do see Morton potentially looking for a gank, but we'll just sort of come out of hiding and wait for the next wave.
Yeah, maybe look to see if Yggdrasil will get engaged on Flush Rush there. They do not take the bait. Currently getting pretty low. Now Mushing doing a good job in pressuring Karate Kid here with some poke basically, and Alpha 01 talking about poke is pretty low as well. Some low health bars all around this map.
Like that, Alpha probably just taking a little bit too much damage from the minions, and it will mean that Shredders gets the Tomaku there, just a little bit of an advantage in his lane, across the team wide as well. Comes back, a little bit of damage, and does do a lot of damage to Alfie there as he tries to turn that round into his favour.
Yeah, nice juicy 100 gold for the team of this is Yggdrasil. And well, looks like we're getting a bit of skirmish here, and Fred's going to take quite a bit of damage, but both very tanky and beefy characters, so no kill landing there.
It's interesting to know that Alfie has built into this sort of tier 1 of what I can only assume is Soul Eater here, recognising that he is base game tanky, so using Soul Eater just to keep him tops up, keep the healing going, keep him fighting for longer. He's got healing with the ult, got the healing with his abilities. He's going to be laughing at the bank when you get towards that's fully stacked up and team fight start. And he can just keep going for as long as his abilities let him.
Yeah, especially once he gets this Soul Eater up, he's going to be pretty yucky, disgusting. I'm surprised Milan didn't go for some sort of Soul Eater. I feel like Soul Eater's a pretty good item on the Milan right now. Yeah, you got the heal from the 2 regardless, but I feel like Soul Eater is actually a really good item right now. Kind of a bit overtuned in my opinion, but that's not off for it. It's going to go into
you're gaining a little bit of lifesteal in the exchange for protection, so I guess it's the different styles you want to play. You want to go in there and deal a lot of damage and keep sustained. Solely is probably the way forward, but Fred is opting towards this sort of tankier build, recognizing that they want to just be able to tank these objectives, keep the fight going, and not have to rely on hitting these solid abilities, and has got healing in the kit, so it's not necessarily required to have the thing. You see a gank here in this duo lane. The rat has come down, looking towards the Bacchus. Bacchus does leap away. Jingwei has got the dash and will also leap away. As we also see the remaining two do try and chase it. Your mocha bubble just missing there. As we do see the rat in the backline looking towards the Bacchus. Does go in for the dive, but Bacchus does manage to get the back off just in time.
Yeah, really good engagement there by GSL 6-2, just getting that great ult just out of nowhere really. He even caught me by surprise here in production. Just really good job by there by Ghost Rider. Doesn't get the kill but gets him really low and exerts pressure onto the duo lane for protect Yggdrasil, which is exactly what they want. Especially against the Jing Wei. You don't want her getting pressure, and you give the Apollo pressure. If you can give Apollo pressure, then you can definitely run with it. Apollo plays well pressure.
And that's the joy that you have with Rat, is you have this ultimate, which is semi-global, allows you to get into these fights when people aren't expecting it, and you're seeing a lot of pressure here on the side, towards Yggdrasil in this dual lane, just being more obnoxious than anything, because I think they're losing more health than they're taking off, but they are just going to back out as do start to see a little bit of a lead in mid lane in the favour of Yggdrasil in that solo, just trying to make little advancements, little plays, taking farm where they can, and just try and push the lead.
Yeah, it's surprising to see. I mean, both Sierra and Teammate kind of have horrible early clears, but
Okay,
yeah, yeah,
you'd love to see it.
horrible early clears. Probably one of the yeah, they're not up there in the clear category for sure. But yeah, Blank Suki able to get a bit of a lead. Probably thanks to some jungle pressure. Ghost has been exciting. I haven't seen Morton much this game so far, which is kind of not his sort of characteristic.
I think Morton's recognising the set. He's picked up the Kali. It's not ideal early game, so he just went for that sort of mid to late game power spike. As you do see him take a lot of damage there from the crush, just keeping him on his toes, keeping him wary of what's going on around him. And I think it is going to be this sort of mid game later on where you do see the push come through, and you mid lane matchup, you've got 2 late games against probably a mid late game with Rat, so it is going to slightly favour the Rat and Scylla as we do see a dive in from the Tiamat. It does just disengage.
Yeah, I wasn't able to take away that Scorpion, and well, quite a risky engagement, but knew he was able to get out of it safely regardless of what happened there. But wasn't able to secure the it there, and more looking for the blue buff in Fade. This could be quite crucial, honestly, and Morn's going to look to scale to the late game as Akali should, and try to run the game that way, play the ranked way almost, and Morton's getting quite low here for S.
Exactly
Forcing the ultimate out of Morton.
And this is the joys of the Kali, is you can do these aggressive plays. You can dive into that sort of blue buff and steal it away and not have to worry about too much the engage, because you've got your jump, you've got your ult to keep you alive. And if your team's there, even better, so it does ultimately manage to steal that blue and sort of limit threaders now with a Mulan, which kind of requires it.
Yeah, it does require it. It's low on mana department here. Ghost Rider is here, and Alfie could be in trouble. Doesn't have mana himself, really. And, well, it's very low, and Ghost Rider looking for the kill, but just swinging at the air right now and doesn't get the kill, unfortunately.
Good use of the sort of beads there, recognizing that if he gets caught by one, next business he comes out. Use that instantly, limiting the chase down potential from the Mulan. Mulan just having to back out there after the arrow connected. He couldn't really follow it up, didn't really have the mana to keep the fight going, and Rat unable to sort of chase him down after using his dash. So good use. Beads does manage to escape. We're still in a very killless game here.
Yeah, kill this game. First blood still up for grabs. Nice little 500 gold. You know, if anyone wants to grab it, go ahead. Nearly had it on the Alfie there, but Alfie was just able to get away.
Pressure's mid. 3 people have turned up. Emoji is in a bit of a dangerous place, but a good Emoji limiting the push. Shell coming through as well, just making sure they've got enough health to keep this hit going. But you have now lost Shell to that engagement. So we do see the Kali going again, stripping away this sort of farm. on this right-hand side, just trying to take what they can, when they can, away from their opponent jungler, and trying to push themselves towards that late game, which they kind of want to reach. And at this point, you've got to do something to stop this Carly, trying to shut her down a little bit. Because if she reaches that, she is going to be a late game powerhouse.
Yeah, you need to stop Morton from going into that jungle. They need to be more ready for these on these timers. Make sure he doesn't scale to this late game. Good play there by guys trying to return the favor, and it's able to gonna get out pretty fine. I don't think he needed a blink there, but you know, better safe than sorry.
Didn't really know who was around, didn't know what was coming. I don't blame the blink, I agree. It probably wasn't necessary, but we can see all from above, so.
Damn right. Download wall hacks. Oh dear.
Again, we are seeing it's sort of a very level pace as both teams really kind of want to hit this mid game. They don't really fight early, and I like the change up on the side of King Tide, recognizing that they didn't really get a lot from those early engagements that they are so known for, and opting towards a more slowed down game. They've got this Jingwei menace late game. They got a Tiamat menace late game. They got a Kali menace late game. They know what they're playing for, and they know what they're building up to, so they don't need to try and push too much. Gold's about the same, so in their eyes, they're winning that engagement.
Yeah, we did see a very similar goal experience right now. No lane really has much of a lead. You know, mid support as a lead on the favor of potentially Yggdrasil, but nothing really. I'm sure it's like very, very slim. Yeah.
Nothing more to really say about that. It's a difficult one because I think neither team wants to be the first to pull the trigger. They do see a bit of aggression here on the backers, but does have the belly flop, will dash away. The chase just isn't really there. The Scylla not really wanting to spend the 3 in case they get yanked by the Kali. The rest of the team's backing off. Bacchus hasn't backed though, so he is still there. Kali is in mid lane now as well. Will retreat on the tower though, recognizing that cleared waves, they've done all they can, as we do see a lot of pressure coming through onto that Tiamat. Beautiful ult. Now the Bacchus is next to be looked at. The damage from the rat is good, and we do see Yemoji come in. Kali has appeared, does use the stun, and tries to limit what's coming through, and a beautiful Yemoji wall, and this is exactly as what I'm saying, does clear up the Bacchus as well, looking towards the Kali. Can't imagine you're going to win that trade, so we'll have to try and get out. Scylla is trying to run for the hills, as they are being chased down by the Shiva. Mulan has turned up to try and turn the fight onto this. Kali does catch them with the arrow. The stun is good. Ult is used. Coming through from the Kali, trying to escape it. Mulan will use their own ult to try and chase it down, but will probably have to disengage. As you do see the Shiva now coming in through the back line to try and turn it around again. I don't think he's going to be able to get too much kills in this 2v1. It might just look for a 2-buff and try to protect it.
Yeah, if he does get that blue buff secured, obviously not gonna pick up any kills down the 2 tanky boys of the Protectors of Yggdrasil. Yeah, no. We did see a bit of a rotation towards the right chunk, perhaps looking for a Pyromancer here. Yeah, peeing it out. And King Kai's nowhere to be seen on this. No, not.
They're going for go through. They recognise this is happening and they're trying to push their lead elsewhere. Recognising that they can have Pyromancer, but if you're all at Pyromancer, who's defending your Gold Fury? Portland's a little bit sleepy. Follow is in the air and will come down to a little bit of a suicide play and will steal the Gold Fury.
Wow, that's who's defending. Karate Kid 77. It does does take his own life, but that is absolutely worth to get.
And limiting how much King Kai's can get off this engagement, and just, you know, you lose your life, maybe a little bit of levels, but you're ahead anyway, so stealing that away, getting the Gold Fury in hands, definitely got to be a bit of a sucker punch on this side of King Kai's.
Yeah, both teams very aware, notably on these objectives this time round. You know, they saw a Pyromancer, they're like, alright, we're going gold, and then Protector's hitting right back with, okay, we're also going gold. very impressive by both two teams so far.
Exactly that, and I think 99% of the time, I think that's pretty much King Kai's victory there at the Gold Fury. I think they did all they could. They tried to stunt the Apollo down, burn it as quickly as possible, but just managing to use that one to secure it there was in their favour. I liked the play from King's side. It's just very unfortunate that it didn't really work out. You know, they had that ward vision on the Pyromats. They saw what they were doing. They saw how many were there. So why not try and push your luck? Why not try and get these small macro plays to or micro plays into their advantage?
Yeah, I think they're one in big trouble here. Cut Morton in here, might be able to help out quite a bit. It's gonna shred them, but Alfie so tanky and Blank Security.
The deep hit. Exactly that. The Duke's fly pressure does throw out the crush and does make Morton use that ultimate, but good sort of. I guess backup from both teams. You see 4 members all on the way, and even the Apollo was on his way by the looks of it with his ult in that mid lane. So bit of a weird engagement, I guess. They almost got outfleed, but the healing's just a little bit too strong in this Shiva. So I would like to see maybe some anti-heal starting to be picked up on the side of potentially the Yggdrasil. At the moment, they don't really have any. Maybe a Brawler's Beat Stick coming through for the Rat, but maybe opting towards a Shadow Steel Shuriken is maybe a choice for ADC, and definitely a Pestilence in the way of support.
Yeah, no, Pestilence in the way of support, of course. I would hope they are. I want to see some anti-heal for sure. Against the comp protecting Yggdrasil, we got. Fred's got a bit of healing, and obviously, Don's gaming on the emojis. You're gonna need some anti-heal on that. Otherwise, you're not gonna have a fun late game, especially around this fire giant. When we're poking around fire giant, if one team has sustain in these fire giant pokes and one doesn't, well, the one with sustain are probably gonna get a better handle at and able to stay around the fire giant longer than the other one, able to heal out the poking damage and whatnot. And if one team can't heal out that poking damage, they have to back.
Alfie just laying waste this solo lane here, getting a tier 1 tower down and just trying to push his lead in itself, trying to get the gold he wants online. Does have the Soul Eater and the Cad Shield online now, so he's going to be having a lot of healing with that ult, and the Soul Eater alone on his abilities, he's got going to have a lot of healing, and I think that's 3 people that you really want to limit with this anti-heal. You want to look towards both the Shiva, the Kali, and the Jingwei when she finally builds into some stronger anti-heal, which I imagine will probably be the Hunter's Cowl, and I assume another bit, because at the moment she doesn't really have a lot. But at the same time, we do see the Rat go into a crusher over the Brawlers, though, so I don't want this to be one of those sort of games where you realise you need anti-heal too late, and the damage has already sort of been done on the side of sort of King Ties, recognising that they have the healing, they have the power, and they're just going to sort of push that advantage.
Yeah, no, you want anti-heals almost so as possible, and I'm sure they will eventually pick it up. I hope so. We do see, we have Plush Rush with the Fire Ruin. It's a very good item, so you sometimes should pick it up even when you don't need anti-heal. It's a really good item, so definitely good to see it from him.
You're seeing a lot of pressure on left though, because the Apollo is staying on that tier 2, and you do have the Rat just trying to bait out this Jingwei out of position. It's going to be a very sort of difficult target to gain, because he does have that ultimate that ultimately misses the stun, and that's the end of that engagement. I do see potentially the rest of the team coming in, stealing away a couple of offerings from the totem, as the rest team maybe trying to catch him out around this Gold Fury pick. Gold Fury pick will spawn, so whoever wins this sort of engagement will be looking at a free Gold Fury afterwards. A bit of an early ult in the way of the
I'm a monster.
We'll get Mulan coming in to clean up the rest, and it's a beautiful rotation from solo lane. We do have the Apollo in the air, looks straight towards the Shiva as he makes it back engage, but the rest of the team is going straight towards this Tiamat, who's just using the abilities they have to keep people away. And it probably will be a rotation into Gold Fury, which has recently just spawned. And it's really going to be up to King's Ice to see if he can lifesteal up and get back in on this engagement.
I have to say, we'll create beautiful I Am a Monster by Blank Tsukiyomi there, hitting 2 members of King Kai's. And yeah, that's it. Still just going to take out Olivier based on their fight. Just a bit of a bad fight by Kings. They tried to make Psych happen, but out. No one got poked out and then up down for some reason. In the middle of the fight, forcing him to use his own ultimate. And well, Chesapeake still got a lot of pressure right now, and what they've got almost a 6k goal lead, almost out of nothing. I mean, they did get goal for you earlier, didn't they? Because they stole it away, and they do have the one Pyromancer as well.
It just doesn't really seem to be in Insider's favour here. They've made the adaptations from Game 2 to Game 3 to not really push the early game advantages, build more late game as they've seen. Actually, they've just still got to focus on this mid to late game, but by no means I would say are they out of it. They may be 6k down, but they've still got a load of late game sort of gods on their side that will supply a lot of damage. What I'm worried about is if they keep sort of trying to take fights. Well, I guess they didn't really try and take a fight there. Oh, they kind of did. They kind of pushed into Gold Fury. If they keep trying to take these fights and losing them, it's going to be a very slippery slope, because we do see Predator Yggdrasil just taking away that Pyromancer there. The Shiva is here just to be a little bit obnoxious, but the rest of the team is still here to back up the Mulan. Just applying so much damage. And this Scylla is just absolutely cleaning house with Crushers. Chase down onto the mid lane. Tiamat is throwing good Aegis though, coming through to keep the survivability going, but it's not really down to much. Emoji comes through, Kali is through and does use the ultimate destruction to get the reset. We do see now the rat in the air looking towards Bacchus, who has gone very low. Kali is still alive and will be looking for her next target, which is the Yamoja, who is extremely low. Jingwei goes into the air, all very low targets here, and will manage to get the Yamoja. We do see the Mulan doing their best now to try and keep them, but a lot of damage as we do see Blank Yumi coming through with a crush, taking up the Jingwei. So little victories here, taking these picks that you can while retreating. It will be a 2 for 2 as a mid and parry die to a parry and support. And I mean, it's in their favour, but Predator stayed around a little bit too long and will fall. The rat has respawned, looking straight towards the Bacchus, gets the Kali and has swapped targets to the Bacchus. Bacchus has now fallen with the crush from Scylla. And as you were saying earlier, King Kai's get these wins, but they stay a little bit too long.
No, that leap in by Nakamushroom is kind of troll. I don't want to see you leaping in when you're like 2 health. That's so silly. It's such a bad mistake there. Yeah, once again, as we saw in Game 2, King Kai's is just not knowing when to get out of the fight. Not knowing to take their wins. Take your little wins and let them add up to big wins. Okay, that's how you do this, because they came out of that fight with big smiles on their face, and then all of a sudden they just push a bit too much, and well, they got the bad end of the stink, shall I say. Stink? I mean stick.
Exactly that. And I don't disagree with their play of like trying to push in onto the tier 1. I think that's alright. I think the issue there was the heavy dive onto the Mulan, which was low enough health that she couldn't really defend the tier 1. Get the tier 1, you can see the rat and the Scylla coming down mid lane towards that tower, so get the solid gold, retreat out, wait for the next fight when you're all healed up. The aggressive play worked, but the rat was just too good on the respawn there and being able to come straight in and turn it into their favour. Do you see a lot of grouping now around this sort of right hand side, potentially even Fire Giant territory? Pledge still a sort of potentially feeling themselves here. They've won the team fights to an extent. You do see a blink come through from Morton there, trying to miss or sort of avoid that Scylla damage. Didn't really use the cross, but she's round to the right hand side. The rat has got her number and looks back out. Meanwhile, the Shiva is being caught out by the rest of the team, and they're trying to do a lot of burst damage. But while focusing on them, the rest of the team is coming in on the left hand side and try and turn it into their favour. As we do see the Emo drop comes through, and they do manage to kill the Diva in that sort of small engagement on the right, and it's very quickly becoming a chase down for the side of protecting Yggdrasil. Looking towards the back as it does get picked up, and it's going to be a bit of a disengage. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to fire here, just trying to either bait the fight, 5v3, pretty strong odds, or just trying to burn fire in itself. Do you see Threaders just lurking around, moving forward, just trying to see where people are going, what angle they want to come in, if he can try and sort of pass anyone out. Jingwei taking him down. You do see a frenzy pop as they do try and burst it, and they do burst it indeed. It's the rest of the team now trying to do something. One goes in, 1v4. It's getting stunned out and CC'd down. He does have destruction to try and get the target. Gets one, going for two, but does just get killed out before he can get the heal off.
Yeah, no, Fate. Good job by Morton trying to do what he can. He almost got the target there, being Blank Tsukiyomi, but was just burst down too quickly. Wanted to actually finish Blank off there. Good job by Yggdrasil to protect Blank there as well.
Just good peel all around, recognising what gets turned out. A gold fury here inside. Quite like little sort of picks and victories, although it's not really a little bit, but it gives you a little bit more gold to try and get you back in the game. It is the Primal Fury, so you won't get those Oni waves coming down the lanes to give you a bit of a buffer and try and push something in. We do see the Apollo ult in the sky, potentially looking to try and steal it, ultimately deciding against it. It's like I said, it's these little wins that sort of try and get you in the game, try and get you a little bit more farm to hit your sort of level 20 when you can start upgrading your starters, getting your builds properly online, finishing off those last couple of items. I think they're making the right call. It's just there's a few missteps that are happening on the side of King Kai's which aren't really doing them any favour.
Yeah, no, definitely. They, like I said, take your little wins, making big wins, basically. And well, they're gonna have to make a big win out of this regardless, because Protective Yggdrasil are charging down their solo lane side and going for this Phoenix, it looks like.
An interesting choice going for the Phoenix over the sort of two towers. Maybe they think they've got enough pressure that they can try and take the towers later on. Once the Fire Giant has run out, but they've seen this Phoenix, they've got the Trebuchet with it, so towards that. We do see the rat in the background just obliterating the Jingwei, and then using the ult to get out, so quite a good pick there, so that should in theory secure this Phoenix. Indeed it does. They are now surging forward, looking towards the two picks, and a beautiful place wall there for them, Uoja, trapping two in. Two very quick kills, and it's looking like writing's on the wall here for King Kai's. Very quickly they're swarming this platform. Two towers are still up. Frenzy is popped to try and do a bit more damage. Bacchus does go down. He's just Kali against the world. Can't get the ultimate off and just gets blown up very quickly. And it's a very tanky Titan, but it will fall, so it will be game 3 to protect the Yggdrasil. And it will be the set to protect the Yggdrasil. And as you say at the beginning, they do seem to be King Kai's kryptonite.
Yeah, King Kai's went from undefeated to entering the mid-season tournament. And then, yeah, they went up against semi-finals against Yggdrasil, and everyone was writing up protectors. Like, kids will, beat them and then go into the final against Spaced Out, right? And, well, Protector Yggdrasil now twice in 2 sets, able to take down Kins. The only team to take down Kins, funny enough. The team that fought Kins last week, I do not recall, to be honest, weren't able to do it. And, well, so far Protectors, the only ones to take down Kins, and they've done it twice now. Definitely the kryptonite of King Kai's. Wow, what a good performance by Protector Yggdrasil. I gotta give credit to the Ghost Rider. He's shown great improvement in this set. Willing to take risks. Well, not just risks. Calculated risks that yeah, just calculated risks, and yeah, he's done really well in this set for real, for real. And Blake Tsukiyomi hasn't died in the last two games, which is pretty good to see too for him.
Still sort of being quite a prevalent pick, I would say. Like pivotal, I would say, in these games as well, doing a lot of damage, giving a lot of sort of threatening aura almost, causing people to really not want to go near her to an extent. And we also have, as you say, you got Ghost Rider who picks up quite an unorthodox pick, I would say. Rat's not really, I would say, in the meta. He isn't the best jungler at the moment, but
Definitely one of the
they pick
worst.
it up and they make it work.
Yeah,
Like you said, by no means was this like a uh, devastating. Oh, it's a stomp against King Kai's. King Kai's played this phenomenally, and they played it well. And the plays they did make worked beautifully. I think they've got the shot call and they got the ideas right. They got the picks right. They know how to sort of adapt their drafts and their play style to try and turn this game around on their head. Ultimately, it didn't work out in their favor in this game, and Jiu-Jitsu just sort of coming through after quite a heavy loss in game one to winning games two and three is quite a good turnaround.
yeah, definitely. Very impressive because they were a team that you know, people doubted their mentals, and well, it shows here that they definitely have their mentals in check if they were able to pull a quite a one-sided first game in the set and change that to a first sweep for a 2-1 victory against King Kai's. Shows that they definitely have the mentals to compete, and as well as the skill and knowledge because they play exceptionally well. And it's not even like they did like insane, like, let's say, like, mechanical, like, they've got, like, 4 Scylla resets or something like that, or Pentakill here, like, they've just played the map really well, and also Don's gaming for it, like, we have to talk about individual performances. Him on this Umoja is very, very good, and that wall in the end there to keep Alfie just kept into that little corner on the Phoenix side was ridiculous. And Don's game, I want to see more on that Umoja, not just the Capri, more on the Umoja as well.
Exactly that. I mean, that was a beautiful wall at the end of game three there. Just being able to lock in two people and just very quickly turn what originally was probably just going to be one Phoenix back out, get the two towers, start looking towards other Phoenix into a very quick deicide into the win of the game. So beautifully well played there on Don's Gaming, using the wall not only for aggressive but using it as peel as well, and just being able to turn the game around into their favor.
Yeah, they did really well. Big props to Patezi Yggdrasil. I'm excited to see him next week against whoever they're against next week. That haven't even been released yet. um, yeah, same as King Kai's. I want to see him bounce back. If my memory do recall, they are against Spaced Out, so they do have a tough fixture ahead of them. But if they can bounce back against someone like Spaced Out, then well, then that'd be very impressive, and we'll see maybe if they get their dominance run back in track, and we'll see how it goes from there. Um,
Exactly that. Trying to
yeah,
see what you can learn from these sets and take them forwards.
absolutely. I know King Kai's have help from how he wins, so I'm sure he'll point out some really some things in this set, and they can learn from that. But yeah, that'll be all. Thank you, Snake White Sam, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. Thank you
Casting and
guys.
streaming.
Yeah, fun. Thank you for watching. And well, see ya.